Waiting at the door.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good.
Good. Hey, Chitaro. Hey, everybody. Hey, Gabe, Zhang, Kayla, Ben. When there's a small group, it's more personal. Marilia, hello. I see Kayla's arriving. Let's give everyone a minute or two to settle in. I really love the material today, so let's give everyone just a minute or two to see what's happening. We'll go over the
Professor.
handout. Next Friday's Thanksgiving, so we won't have class on Friday. Do you guys already know that next Wednesday our school is running the Friday classes? So we'll actually be seeing each other on Wednesday instead of Friday. And I realize some people may have conflicts with that, so I do want to remark on that to everybody. Let's get a couple more people in the room, though. This semester, I've been videotaping every single class. So if anyone has work that day, like I know some of you guys have jobs while you're at school, you heroic people. You can't tell your boss you have to take off. So it will be videoed for anyone who has to do it that way. Excuse me. All right. It's a small group this morning. All right. I guess I'm just going to dive in.
Hey, Professor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure because my audio was like messed up yesterday, so I couldn't talk. So I just want to know.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. And Gabriel, I think I just responded to an email from you this morning. In fact, from a bunch of you guys. I'm sorry that it takes me so long. Sometimes you don't hear from me till the same day of class. It's just, boy, we know how tiring college is. So imagine being in college for 40 years like me. It's exhausting, 40 years of school. So I do apologize. Anyway, I did get back to everybody today. So if anyone's been waiting on that, just check your email. Good morning, Tiffany.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I'm going to jump right to the handout so we could, see what there is there, that we get to today's new material. So I'm sharing my screen.
I just got my new tablet last Saturday.
Exciting. What kind of tablet did you get?
It's called the Huion Canvas 22.
Really? Oh, wow. I can't wait to hear from you what it's like. You could, is it tacky for me to ask you what it cost?
It normally costs like a little over $500, but I bought it during a sale. So in that sale, like it decreased like $3.50. $3.50.
That's good. Again, like at some point, I'll bring my tablet out. Maybe I could show everybody. It's not much to demonstrate, but the XP pen, I've been very happy with it. I think it was more like $200 or maybe even less for people who are, looking forward to buying one of those. I want to just say, in general about the tablets. Look, I myself had nearly made a career of figuring out how to do all this stuff without tablets. I'm particularly comfortable with a mouse and nowadays even with a touchpad. So there's a lot of techniques that people use without tablets where the results are beautiful, but they all take another level of investment. I was thinking only yesterday that if I was able to spend one whole day on just the pen tool, though the pen tool really takes more than that. I teach illustration classes and we spend, I'm sure more like six class hours or more on the pen tool, but that kind of bypasses the need for a tablet in some ways. But in any case, there's no doubt that tablets are fantastic. And depending on your stylistic interest, you may have to have one. based on the style that you want. That's cool. But I don't want anyone to feel like they can't do great stuff without it. They just have to rethink their own method. Excuse me a second there.
I mean, hey, I spent for the last 17 years drawing traditionally.
Just grabbing got a little bit of a cold. Yeah, I understand. By the way, I mean, seriously, I have a fine art background. I was trained as an illustrator and with physical materials for years, and then I went into painting for years. So I'm very physical, even though I teach mostly digital arts. And all the same, I still got used to using the computer without anything like the stylus. But again, it is definitely worth looking into. I know a lot of you are very devoted to animation and eventually you're going to want it. All right, let me move forward though. Am I sharing currently? Yes, I am screen sharing. Let me let that person in and I want to get to the good stuff. A second there. Guys, listen, I'm a little under the weather today. I got some really good material for you, but I don't know how far I'm going to make it into today's class. I've been sick the last few days, just marginally, nothing big and scary. All right, let's see what we can do. All right. All right, let's take it from the top, as they say. Look, just be clear about the dates, right? We only have 4 classes left. Wait a second, 13, 14, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have 4 classes left, and that includes exam week. So our next class is going to be next Wednesday, right? Because next week, Wednesday's running all Friday classes. And the school does on occasion any day of the week had too many holidays, so we can't get our minimum requirements in. So next Wednesday, same time, same link, same method, same everything, except on Wednesday, right? Because next Thursday and Friday, there's no class. And that includes us on the 27th, no class. So that means these are the 4 classes left. The way I have it mapped out is a 15 class semester by and large. So this is 13, 14, 15. This is a bit of an extra class. And when we get there, I'll tell you what my intentions are for that day. But right now, do your best to come here on Wednesday. I do understand if you've got work or something like that. If you can't be there, listen, I got to be frank. If I stick with my plan, you really don't want to miss that material. Typically after today, I head into lip syncing, getting people to talk. And, that's hefty. I got to tell you, it's a little big for an intro class. So some of you, might not like that idea, but I think everybody's been curious to know more about that kind of thing. And that's my goal. And again, if you can't come, just be sure to watch the YouTube video. One thing about the YouTube videos that I've noticed, some have like 30, 40 people. Some have like 1 person who actually watched it. So I don't know what the pattern is, but I will say this. If you miss 1 class and catch up on the video in the next couple days, you're fine. But if you don't, and then you have 2 videos to catch up, most people don't. I mean, who's going to watch a class of this long back to back with another one, So the whole trick with the videos is if you need to watch it for any reason, you should watch them soon. 1 second here. I'm like I said, I'm moving kind of slow this morning. There we go. All right. Here we go. Okay. So get this out of the way. All right. So that's it schedule wise. All right. Listen, here's the late homework update. I've been doing this every week, right? And I've been stretching it out, but right now I could only accept these, right? So I've eliminated all the homeworks up to class 5. Now, if anyone has the most extraordinary circumstance why I should accept anything earlier, right? You really have to let me know. And really, the only people that I'm really going to take seriously are the people who just had the world's worst computer problems. And
Yeah, Professor, actually, speaking on that,
yes,
my computer actually broke, so I gotta go to Apple. I'm going to Apple Tuesday to get it, to see if I can get it fixed.
oh man.
So I wasn't asking about with the homework. Do I put it in the late homework, or I put it in an actual folder for the homework?
No, put it in the late folder. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be penalized, especially if your computer broke. But what it does mean is I'm not going into every folder every week, right? It would
Okay.
just be an unrealistic way for a teacher to do things. So I always check two folders though. I check the late folder and the revisions folder. Since the subject comes up, I just want to be really clear what the difference is. If you did anything on time, but you didn't like it, or you didn't like the grade, you're allowed to give me a revision any point in the semester. You already have a grade, you did it on time. Put it in the revisions folder, and if it's better, I'll upgrade. I love getting stuff in the revisions folder. I really do. It always shows how serious somebody is. And inevitably, the work is twice as good as the original. But if the work's late for any reason, your fault or not, put it in the late folder. It guarantees that I see it, right?
Okay.
So Zach, hey, are you? If I hope you're not too, I hope you're not behind on the homework because that would make it.
Nah, I'm up to the walking cycle. I have to do that.
Yeah, great, fantastic. So listen, keep me posted on that because things are so weird right now that like with luck they'll fix your computer right away, but Apple actually asked me to bring my computer in, right? My model
Mhm.
had some battery issue, and then they told me I won't have it back for 2 weeks. I'm like, I can't survive without my computer for 2 weeks. And the rumors were that with my model it could blow up because of the battery. That's just that nonsense online. But if I
Yeah.
do blow up, you'll know why. Because I couldn't bring it back to the Apple store. Anyway, good luck, Zach. Keep me posted, all right? I'll work with
Okay.
you.
All right. I will.
All right. So, all right, where was I? Let's get back to here. Good. I'm glad we're having this meeting. So anyway, folks, of course, the class 5 assignment I'm accepting up till midnight tonight. Again, if you were one of the couple people who just waited forever to get your computer, I may be open-minded beyond that. You just have to let me know. Take the wheel, keep me posted. But this is the official rundown. All right. All the assignments were graded. That's an exaggeration on your teacher's part. I apologize. I did not grade the walk cycle. I just got a peek this morning. The couple that I peeked at looked so good, but I didn't get to grade them yet. So I have to fix this. My apologies. The video playlist is up to date. So guys, you really should take Tiffany up on her offer. Next semester, Tiffany, I'm going to ask you. You know what we're going to do? You and I. We're going to act like that late night talk show. You know how they always have, there's the host and they're always talking to their like backup person. This is way everyone gets to know you. Tiffany's just a nice person and she's so good at this stuff. She does these homework sometimes more than once just because she's an artist and wants to get better. And so you could trust her. So if I'm unavailable, and I'll confess, I'm often unavailable. People ask me randomly, hey, can you help me with this in the middle of the week? I don't know any professor is able to do that. I just have, millions of students. I'm very devoted to you guys, but I'm not always available. Tiffany's a little more available than I am. So you could always send her an email or you could just show up during these time frames, which I've still not updated. Sundays 12 to 2, isn't it, Tiffany? Look, guys, I know everyone's anxious to get busy, but I got to tell you my new theory. College should be 3 10-week semesters. I don't know if I told you that, but this is my new theory. You get the same 30 weeks a year. You just have more vacations. And after week 10, when people start to get cross-eyed, it'd be over. You'd have that one semester. You'd take a little vacation. You get 30 weeks a year instead of 2 15-week semesters, 3 10-week semesters. Think about it. That would be a 4-week vacation between each one. How great would that be? I think we'd all learn better and be healthier. So I guess I'm talking to myself because I need a break. All right. Anyway, this is 12 to 2 on Sunday. But you could always email Tiffany if you need a hand beyond what I could offer. Guys, listen, I know I keep plugging this, but if you've not tried it on your own, at some point, you got to visit this link, this particular link. It really is the best way to get help for anything Adobe. The left side lets you choose the program and you get right to the question. It's so much better than just Googling it. Car project still open. All right, listen, let's get to the good stuff, right? Today, I want to talk to you about turnarounds. And there are assets today, but I want to tell you something. I have such mixed feelings about using assets for animation specifically. I use them in every course that I teach, and I teach a number of subjects, but it's been the biggest hassle for animation. And I think it's because, we had it easy if my assets are in FLA. everyone's been able to open those. But if my assets are Illustrator files or Photoshop files, it got more complicated. We were all okay with JPEGs, but the rest, and I know what it is, but it's just too many. Ugh. So I'm trying to avoid that. Today's assets really are just references, just references. So I'm going to show you what they look like. I actually have mine ready, but for the record, you're probably going to want a copy of at least one thing that are in the assets. So I'm going to ask you to download it. So you get the assets from the top here or from the home page. Just click that and download it whenever you're ready, right? I'm going to show you mine because I already rigged them up. I want to give you a peek at something in the samples folder. This samples folder is a little too robust. But what I did was I put in 3 FLAs of my own that I'm letting you have for anyone who wants to look them over, see if there's anything in there that you find elucidating, anything that's clarifying for you. But there's also 3 GIFs. I don't know why I added this SWIFT in there. I'm going to show you just the GIFs. This is what we're working on today. This is called a turnaround, right? Now, this is rather exaggerated because I don't know how often anyone's going to keep spinning like that. I don't know, maybe this guy's a ballet dancer or an ice skater, or he's sitting on his office chair and he's bored. Spin, 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 spin. But you often need someone to turn to the side or maybe look behind them. So this particular skill just gives you the freedom to make someone turn whichever direction you want. So that FLA is in there for anybody who wants to look it over. It's not required. It's called Turnaround Man. I want to also show you this guy, Turnaround Smiley Head. I'm going to show you the GIF also. We're going to build this today together. And what I like about this one is we can't get too hung up on drawing. Guys, listen, I love to draw. And I really don't mind spending a couple hours on one pose if I have that kind of time. But naturally, we can never do that in class. We don't have hours to draw one pose. So I want to talk about methods to do something attractive, strong, even professional, but quicker and more efficient. So we're going to work with this kind of style roughly today to learn how to make someone turn around. I threw in one that had a body. I call it Turnaround Robot. Robot spins. And here, even though his body to me looks like a bunch of toasted blue bread, you could see, he's got this simplified mechanical body. Let me just let somebody's at the door. Give me a second. Okay. So these are there just for you to think about, see, and they're all done in the minimum number of poses. So this idea of how many poses you need has become a repeat theme. It's a very similar idea to what we were doing with the walk cycle, right? All right, I want to show you the one that's more important though. So this is the samples folder. Check it out if you want to on your own time. The FLAs are yours to borrow. Do not publish any of those. I am the owner of those. I'm loaning them for you to study, right? But not to release or publish in any which way, right? Those are my own original artwork. This is sort of borrowed, right? And I want to share something with you. Guys, I need your total attention for this. Your total attention. Okay. So here, to make someone turn around, right, at a minimum, there's 8 poses. Now, if you ignore all the notes, just check out the way this woman looks. She's facing us, right? And then she's turning. So this here, right, is an in-between pose, smack in between front view and side view. So first sink your teeth into these 3, the first 3, right? Everyone could picture this in their head. Almost anyone could picture side view, but this becomes super important. And these are going to be a little harder, these views. So once she gets to side view, she's continuing to turn around. We could do the same kind of way of looking at it. She goes from side, I'm going to jump over to this one, to the back. Particularly easy view to draw, the back view. But this one between them is kind of complicated. So all these in-between views, look, if you look at it this way, 4 main views, front, side, I'm skipping, right? Back, and the other side, right? It's easy to understand. It's like forward, to the side, backwards, to the other side, then you come back forward again. But these in between are kind of critical. So if you look at it again, starting from the beginning, she turns, we could put one in between here and one in between here. If she was moving very slowly, you'd probably have to do that. You know, she's moving in at a, you know, average speed, you don't. So you go from here to here to here, right? Side view. And now she's starting to face back. So let's be clear about it. And once she starts to face back, there's also an in-between view. And then we've got the back. She's coming around pointing the other way. So here's another in-between view to get us to the profile facing left. Then she's almost back front, right? That's view 8. And then we come all the way back to 1 if she was going to be spinning. I want to say something to you. There's similar maps on the internet in all different styles and all different ways to look at it. But this kind of 8-view model is really very, very popular, and you'll find references in YouTube videos and all this kind of stuff. You know, I feel really bad about this one because I want to put the credit of the artist on it. So I'm going to try to find this on the internet again because I just like the way they described it. All right, I hope this is making sense. I do want to show you this one thing that helps. Look, guys, let's face something together as a bunch of animators, you know, and why working in a group is such a challenge. You know, you're animating, you need to draw another view, especially with a teacher. Teacher's going on to the next subject, and you're like in the middle of rendering something. You're trying to draw something, you know, and it's like, as patient as you might be, you're still going to have to find ways to make it faster, no matter how patient you are. So take a look at something that's going to help with that. Notice these 3 views. I got green circles on these, right? It says these can be copied and flipped. So if you look over here on these with the 3 yellow circles, this is what I mean. These are copied. These are completely robbed from here. You know, let's look at the inside ones. So here she is in that peculiar view. She's almost facing back. Finally faces back and she turns to the other side. But look how similar view 8, let's call this pose 4, right? This one is to pose 6. So I'm literally just going to copy her when I need to draw this and flip it horizontally, which is very easy in Adobe Animate. The next view is the same. So here's the profile. Isn't that going to be roughly, look, guys, let's be honest, you know, in reality, your 2 profiles are not very much the same. You know, honestly, none of our faces are symmetrical. They say this about popular models in the fashion industry. That's not so much about beauty as a very symmetrical face. But for cartoonists and animators, we're fine. We're symmetrical enough, right? So when it comes to profiles, why would you draw the opposite profile, right? You don't want to do that. So that also gets flipped. So this pose here was right after she started to turn. It's going to be a very similar view when she comes back to facing forward. So here she is coming back to facing forward. I'm comparing 2 to 8. So listen, I know I'm going a little far here, but I want to draw your attention to something. Here's the back view. Now, once we get to the back view, we're going to start copying. So we're literally going to have to draw 5 views, and then we're going to have to do some thoughtful copying. So we go to her, this one, copy it to her right. We go one earlier and copy it one step further. So it's going to, you know, be, you know, on the outside. We'll get there. But listen, you may need to whip this one out today, you know, just to help. You may not, but you're definitely going to want to keep a copy of it. Any questions about this so far? I know we're just getting started. No? Okay. So let's get started then. Let me just take a look. Did I forget anything I need to tell you? No, I guess not. Oh yeah, let's get a look at this. I want to say something to you guys. You know, I have to be a little frank. I got a core group of people in here who obviously want this bad. They always do the homework. They're getting better. Their homeworks are obviously getting better, right? There are others who are like feeling a little touchy about it for a variety of reasons. All right, and I understand that. You know, they might catch the momentum a year from now or 2 years from now. That happens, right? But I just want to say this is one of those skills that are on the short list of what you're expected to know how to do. And if you think about it, if you master this, you could do it with anything. Any object that you need to make, like the camera went around it. You know, it's going to be very similar to logic. This is a particularly valuable skill. All right. If you look at this, right, these are the 8 views, right, that we were just looking at. And I want you to notice that I took 3 and added stars to it, right? So these are the 3 that you just saw in the sample illustration. So the front view we can all imagine in our head, and she's heading to one side. So the in-between view, between front and side view, right? And the next in-between, right, where she's heading to the back. There's no good names for these things, really. Those 3 are the 3 that we're going to copy. Right, so they're going to wind up being 6, 7, and 8. So if we're going to use the numbers here, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be copied and flipped, so you don't have to draw 6, 7, and 8. And then it just goes back to the front anyhow. Now, I want to just point something out about the handouts, especially to the most ambitious in here. You know you could download these, don't you? That you could just do, you know, file menu, save. It's a PDF document. You'll be able to open it. So you could save any of my handouts and keep them for later. This one's particularly valuable. I'm going to go over all this stuff, so I'm not going to actually read it to you. But later on, you may want to have a look at this. Okay, let's get busy. Can everybody open Animate? Ooh, oh, really? All right. I don't need this. I'm going to make sure I didn't lock anybody out. Let me check the door. Looks like we're good. All right. So again, either click Create New or do File Menu New. The choice is yours. I think I'm going to keep it small today. So I'm going to work again with what they call standard, 640 wide, 480 tall. You know I'm very picky about the frame rate. Stuff like this, because we're going to be going by 2s. You know, the frame rate's going to just change your speed a lot. So you got to be really picky about this. I'm going with 24 as always. All right. Now, I want to just remind you, this is what our goal is, right? Give me a second here. Oh, this is a different file. Give me a second there. Give me 1 minute. Didn't mean to get here. Sorry, guys. I warned you. I'm a little dim-witted today, but not too. We're going to be making something like this guy, the smiley head sample. Right, just so we don't spend a lot of time drawing. We'll get all the points down, though. All right. All right. So we're going to have a minimum of 2 layers, right? We're on 1 layer right now. All I really want you to do right now is get to your tools, choose the oval tool. I want you to pick a fill color and a stroke if you want one. I think a stroke would be helpful today. So I'm going to ask you to go to the fill box. But you know what, guys? Listen, let's actually do one thing first. I keep meaning to do this. Set your stage color, right? So if you've selected anything, just click on the stage. Come to the properties palette. You should see the stage feature right here. And just pick any color you feel like using. I'm always picking different colors just to keep myself interested. All right. Now, just remind you, that doesn't get a layer, right? So you pick a background color, that can't be changed. If you want a background that could change colors, you put a big box over the whole stage and give it its own layer, right? Right now, we're not going there. So we're just going to have a big backdrop, flat color. All right, we're on layer 1. You got your hollow keyframe that comes by default. Please get the oval tool at this point. I'd like you to pick a fill color that you think you might like against your background. So whatever color you're in the mood for. I think I'm going to make a green guy today. All right. If you want to use strokes, choose a stroke color. I think I'm going to stick with black for a while. I know it's the traditional color, but mostly so that it's easy for you guys to see when I demonstrate. The stroke weight here is a stroke of 1. That's just boring. I'm going to take that up to 2 or 3 or even 4. I'm going to go with 4. Guys, I want to mention something I never mentioned before, just because since the semester is drawing to a close, and we're going to focus a little bit on drawing going forward. I want you to notice something. It's not so much the style one. It's a little boring, this one, but it's this called width. This makes some pretty cool lines. So I'm going to use this second variable width, right? So it's not going to be the same width. It's going to feel more like a calligraphy line or even a graffiti artist line. I do need a thick stroke for that to really have any merit. So I'm going with 4 points in this width. So look what that looks like. You can see if you like it. And if I did select the whole circle or even just the stroke, I could always come here and make changes. So these are what the different lines look like. This, I'm going to exaggerate it for a minute. So some of them might look a little bit too heavy if I use black. Maybe I just want to back off on the size. It's just a little nicer than the plain line. Okay. Look, just take a minute to make sure it's the size you want and the position you want, because we're probably not going to redraw that, right? That one part is going to stay put. It's going to be a very grounding element for us as we move forward. What I don't object to, though, is if you did want it to be less round, you can go with an oval if you want. That's fine. By the way, just one little interjection. If this goes well, I'd like to spend the end of the class just talking about flat out drawing in this program. So if anybody wanted to redo the project with more complex drawing, I'm going to include tricks, insights about how to do that afterwards if there's time remaining and energy to do it with. All right. I want you to rename this layer. I'm going to call this head shape. Remember, it's not going to be the head. It's just the general head shape. So I'm going to ask you to rename the layer and then make a new one. I renamed it head shape. I just made a new layer. And what I'd like you to do is lock that lower layer. Give me a second. People are still arriving. You guys, don't assume when someone's late that they're just unambitious. These guys are ambitious. I'm sure you've all had this happen. A morning got a bad internet morning or something like that. You just can't get online. Hate that. All right. Wei Ming, Ming Lang, just look at my timeline and copy what you see. We didn't get that far yet. We're going to make heads turn around today. The lower layer should have an oval on it for the head. There's a new upper layer that we just got started on. Okay. Okay. So I want to say a little bit. Let's go with the simplest possibilities just for this first exercise today. I'm going to go with an oval for the eyes also. Feel free to change colors in any way that you imagine it. And of course, you could change the stroke weight. You would have to do it before you draw it or after. If you want to do it after, select it. You could change your stroke weight if you want. You could even change the stroke style or the colors again, of course. I'm going to add a little bit to this. I'm going to actually make a black fill pupil. I don't think I need a stroke for this one. So I'm going to click the stroke box and choose stroke of none. And we'd all have different ways of doing this. This is fine, however you want to do it. If I want to make this guy a little bit more interesting, maybe I'll just add a little highlight also. So again, I'm still on the oval tool, doing a lot with the oval tool for this exercise. I'm choosing a white fill, no stroke. And I'm just going to add a cool little highlight. Gives it a little more personality. And I want you to notice something. I locked the lower layer with the head shape on it. And one of the reasons I'd like you to do the same is for this exercise, we're going to put all the features on one layer. So this might be just a 2-layer animation, which is very neat and easy to manage. If you lock the lower layer, I could do stuff like this. I could take the black arrow and select without moving his head. You know, if you don't lock that layer and I try the same thing, I'm going to create some kind of disaster. Don't want to do that, right? So I'm going to lock the lower layer, right? Here I am on the upper layer. And I could select it by clicking the keyframe, or I could take my black arrow since I locked the lower layer. I want to option drag to make the other eye. Since I only have you for a few weeks, I do want to make some points artist to artist. You know, I often teach things, oh, this is a systematic method because I just want to be as clear as I can. But my real truth, my real true hope uh, is that you just jam like crazy later on. You know, you don't have to copy the eye. You know, really, I was talking to someone yesterday, their eyes were wildly different. Gives someone a lot of personality if they're not the same. Hershey has one eye that's always wide open, the other eye's a little sleepy. You know, a beautiful person and gives her just this a human personality, you know. So, but right now I'm speeding things up, so I copied it. All right. What about the nose though? I want to show you a couple methods for the nose, right? Now, one of the problems with the nose is I'm going to want to move these features as the person turns around. The eyes are going to be easy to move, but when the nose gets profile, it's going to be sticking off the head. So I would like you to join me on this exercise. We're going to use the pen tool for the nose. Now, I want to remind you guys of something. If the pen tool is not on the toolbar, if it's not, I want you to check two things. One, is it hiding under another tool? You know, it could be hiding under one of these. Probably not, though. If you're not seeing the pen tool, next thing I'd like you to look at is the window menu. You know, we've had this, a couple of you guys have had to come here before. Window menu at the bottom, it says workspaces. I've been using essentials in this class, and that includes these tools. And to be sure that I'm not imagining it, I'm going to reset essentials, and we'll find out if my pen tool disappears or not. I'm going to pull this off where it's a little easier for people to see. Ah, looks like Essentials does not have the pen tool. All right, I'm going to go grab it. I'm going to click on the three dots. Here's my pen tool. I like all these tools here. They all go with the pen tool. But I think for right now, I'm just going to take the pen tool by itself. Then I'm going to click these three dots. You guys cool with that? Do you have the pen tool? Anybody need a hand getting it? Thanks, Gabe. All right. I want to just say quickly about this tool. I love this tool. Everybody needs this tool eventually, right? It's a heavy duty drawing tool. It's going to be very helpful what we're about to do. All right. Now, the pen tool draws with the stroke color, right? So if you've got a stroke set now, the pen tool should respect it. Now, I want you to do this. Now, trust me, I know you have a stylistic goals of your own. I just want you to see where I'm coming from with this. I need for you to go around and make sure that it's closed, right? Now, the reason I need for you to do that, and I'll do this twice because I just want to make a point, is I want to fill this with green. And the reason being is when I move it later so that it's sticking off the side of his head in the profile view, it can't be hollow. So I made sure to close it. The pencil's just a good tool for that purpose. And then what I'm going to do is use the eyedropper, work the way the eyedropper behaves, to this face. And it automatically became a paint bucket. And I'm going to click in here to fill it. I'm a little insecure whether it worked. So I'm going to get the black arrow, double click that whole nose and make sure it's there. And it's not. And I have a hunch why. We just try a different way. You might have to pull it off to see why. Got a little bit finicky. Put it back. I'm going to do that again, right? Just because it's a little odd. I've been taught not to repeat myself too much. This one is a little odd though, so I think it's worth it, right? My main goal with the nose is it looks so different front view and side view. And I don't want to have to do a lot of drawing later. So I'm trying to make features that are easy to reuse, our own kind of recycling. So I recommended using the pen tool. It draws with the stroke. You have to fill it afterwards, right? So it should behave even with this crazy stroke that I'm using. It'll definitely behave with a simple stroke though. So I'm just making a simple triangle Oh, that's an odd thing. Hang on a second there. You just see what just happened. I left some residue behind. And someone just got to the door. All right. So I just concentrated on the stroke. Notice this does not care if you have a drawing tablet one bit. I was tempted to do the whole class in the pen tool. I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to get the paint bucket, but I want this color, you know, whatever your face color is. So I'm going to get the eyedropper first, click it. Paint bucket knows about it, and I'm going to click in here. If I have any doubt that that worked, I'm going to get the black arrow and double click this and move it off. Why is it misbehaving? I really don't know. I'm going to get the paint bucket and try it again. That's odd. To move it back, I better double click it because it has a stroke. And I'm going to move it back. We're not actually done though, right? I just want to repeat something. The fact that I locked the lower layer is what's making this easy. I could get at either eye or the nose easily without bumping into his face. Now, one thing I need to show you, what I'd really like, and I'm going to drag the nose back off to make a point, is this. This is really what I want, right? And why is that? Well, a couple reasons. It'll look good in the front, and it'll look good for side view. Now, if you missed it, you know, and I have to say, I'm a big Illustrator user, right? So here's where the way it looked. I dragged it off to make sure I could see what I'm doing. The black arrow always selected one side of any straight lined object. So I'm using that now, and I'm taking this side off. He's going to be, you know, turning this way. I'm going to grab it, put it back. Let me interject something. So when you're drawing on your own, you got your own image of what you want it to look like. After today, you're going to have a rough idea what you need those features to do. And it should affect your decisions when you draw. How practical is this stylistic choice that I have? Will I have to redraw every single frame? You got the time, you got the patience, fine. Draw it however you want to draw it, right? But if you're on a deadline, you better come up with a drawing that's really easy to renegotiate for different poses. All right. I'm going to leave the nose as it is. Please interrupt me with any questions. I'm going to go easy with the mouse, with the mouth. And I do want to return to the pen tool. So guys, this is using the pen tool for curves. It's honestly, if I could skill all of you and take you into an illustration class, it's a dream that I have, right? I'd be spending a lot on this next feature. I'm going to use this just to make an easy curve with or without a drawing tablet. So here it is. I'm going to press. Now, what does that mean? I just pressed and dragged. When you press and drag, you're telling the pen you want to make a curve. You're also saying which direction. I don't want the mouth going up this way. I want it coming down. He's a happy guy. So I'm going to pull it down a little bit, and that's giving it a clue how big I want the smile to be. Then I let go, and look what happens as I drag the mouse over. When I get to about here, I'm going to press and drag the opposite direction to finish the smile. I'm going to redo it. The pen tool is famous mostly for curves. It's going to use just the stroke. So again, you press and drag if you want a curve. Right? We didn't do that on the nose. Then you come way over here. It's going to show you what the first half of the curve wants to do. But we're going to finish the other half by pressing and dragging again. Now, it acts weird after that, right? We want to get out of there, right? So if I click escape, it'll let that line know that it's done. The escape key is kind of handy. I need to throw something in for anyone who would like to take the pen tool further, right? The white arrow is the best friend of the pen tool. You really can't use them well without using them together. Surely the pen tool needs its buddy, the white arrow, not the black arrow. So the white arrow may be hiding underneath your black arrow. If you press, you'll be able to see if it's there, called the sub-selection tool in this program. But if you don't have it, again, click the three little dots. It would be here if you don't have it. Press and drag it in between tools. That'd be better than the way I have it. It'd be easy to find. So you just drag it somewhere on your toolbar. And then when you're done, click the three dots. Why do I even bring it up? With the white arrow, I could click any shape and alter it, but it's most interesting if I get at the anchor points. These are the handles that determine the curve earlier, so I could alter the curve. The white arrow lets you return to anchor points and specifically change curves, or you could even change angles. What are these guys doing here? That's odd. I'm glad I clicked over there. There's some nonsense going on, but I'm going to ignore it. This layer is locked, so I can't get at it right now, but this has got anchor points all over the place, and they each have curves on it. If I zoomed in, you'd see. Let me try it on this guy here. So I could literally change the curves of anything. All right, let's back off. So I'm asking you to draw a smile, essentially. The white arrow lets you edit it, unless you loved it the first time. How we doing so far? All right? So guys, look, I know it's a simple drawing, right? But it gives us a chance to get a simple view of some important tools. You know, folks, I want to say something about the fact that only a couple generous people have their cameras on. You know, I usually torture you guys about that stuff, but I'm tired. And I realize people have all kinds of reasons, and some of them are my fault. My YouTube videos are not password protected, and it only dawned on me recently that some people just don't want to be on YouTube, and I apologize for that. Next semester, I'm going to change that, password protect the YouTube videos. But if you have the heart to turn on your camera, please do. Right? I got a couple people. I got Tiffany keeping me company and Gabriel. I know the other. Some of you guys don't have cameras or broken cameras. Don't worry about it. All right. All right. So to move forward, you have to be at this stage. I want to back off and see my whole document. So I'm coming up here where the zoom features are, and I'm going to choose show all. And I'm going to back up a little bit because I do like seeing the walls. I know how big my head is. All right, I am going to leave out the ears. Now, if you're feeling really brave, you really must put in the ears. I just got to tell you something about it. My goal is to get the 8 poses down so we all just understand it. So I'm avoiding things that are complicating it. Hair is really tough because it's different on every side of the head. So you really have to do a lot of redrawing. Ears are kind of tough too, unless you hide them under something for a variety of reasons. And we may try that later. Right now, I'm going to stick with this. All right, guys, we're ready for the next pose. So I'm going to copy all of this a bunch of times. One at a time, I'm going to deal with each pose. Truth is, though, I probably don't need a lot of heads. So let's do this a different way. Can everybody unlock the head shape layer? I want to point out the bottom layer really should be that head shape by itself. Oh, gosh. And now I'm seeing a problem on mine. Give me a minute. That's not a good one. Give me 1 second here, though. I got a good way to fix it. Hard to talk and make art at the same time. That's going to have to do today. All right. We do have 8 poses, but each one is going to have 2 frames. Now, some of you know what I mean when I say going by 2s. Those who are not clear about it, crystal clear. We're going to be doing more of that kind of thing today. We went by 3s, I think, last week for the walk cycle. We're going to go by 2s today. So if there's 8 poses, I'm going to need 16 frames to finish this. Let's go out to frame 16 and F5 it. Do the same for both layers. At this stage, if your head shape is unlocked, can you lock it again? We won't have to worry about that shape anymore. It's going to live for all the rest. We're only interested in the features now. All right, 2 layers, all the features on the upper layer, the shape for the head on the lower. They're both 16 frames long. All right, we're going to do some F6ing now. Since we're going by 2s, I want you to skip the next frame, go to frame 3, and let's F6 to copy. I'm about to do something brand new. That was all just set up. You copied it because this is what you're going to do next. I'm going to take the transform tool. I'm going to squeeze these features just a little bit. And I'm going to drag them over here so he looks like he's starting to turn. I held down Shift just now, by the way, to make sure that it wouldn't squiggle up in the air or down. Shift helps you slide. Now, I'm going to move it over a little bit more. I might squeeze it a little bit more. Now, there's a bunch of stuff that's up to you, though. Like if you don't like any of this at this point, you go in and make some changes. Use the black arrow, use the white arrow, whatever you want to use, for example, or even the same transform tool. Do I like that smile or not? I don't know. I feel like it needs to turn a bit. I don't know. That's just the way I feel about it, right? Do I like where the nose is? I pretty much do. There is one thing I don't like, though. The far eye would feel smaller because it's just a little further away. Now, if it's easy to select because it's not too close to the nose, I got lucky, right? But if it's hard for you to select with the black arrow, I'd like you to take notice of this tool. Not this one, the Lasso Tool. It helps you get into corners when you need to select something. I'm going to switch over to the transform tool because I would like that eye to be a little bit smaller, a little narrower, maybe even a dash shorter. It's subtle, but the head feels like it's turning more. How are we? We all right? So you can see where I'm going with these simple features, right? They're easy. I'm calling it recycling. They're easy to recycle for the other views. So I couldn't persuade anyone to turn on their camera before. I should offer.
Irving has bad network right now.
You say it again, Tiffany?
Awaiming has bad network right now.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I'm sure. I know a bunch of people have real good reasons. I just got to be honest, folks. Most of my classes, the majority of students have their camera on. If their room is messy, they turn on those virtual backgrounds. You know, so it's like, you know, oh, it's not as easy as it used to be. All right, in any case, I'm going to stop complaining because I don't know what it is about animators. Are animators more shy? Maybe. I don't know. All right, so it goes. All right, we're ready to move on. I'm not getting any visual feedback, so I'm assuming everyone's doing great. We're ready for the side view. So let's skip a frame. This is for timing's sake. The guy would just be moving too fast frame to frame. Okay, so we're going skipping a frame. Here's the next frame there. So I'm going over. That's got to be frame 5 at this stage, right? And I would like for you to F6 again. Copy the features over there. So you're checking down your timeline, making sure you understand your own keyframes. This is the front view. This is that first in between view. And now we're about to make a side view. Now, what I'd like you to do when you made that third keyframe is move this stuff over, judging by the nose. And I know his features are sticking out. Don't let that bother you right now. You want to get that nose in a comfortable side view position. Clearly, I wouldn't see that far eye anymore. It would have turned around to the other side of the head. So I'm going to select it either with the black arrow or the lasso tool. Flat out delete it. What about the mouth? I could redraw a new mouth, but I do want to mention the eraser. I'm going to zoom in a bit. The eraser tool Always looks like a USB drive to me. Little keychain drive, but that's supposed to be an eraser. And if I come over here, I can literally, it looks like I'm erasing the background, but I'm not. Once I let go, that's what I got. So I got myself a nice side view. This guy's already turning. Nervous fella. All right. The next view is a weirder view. You know, it's not the back view yet. You know, if we were in the classroom, I'd be turning all over the place to exaggerate this, but I'm too comfortable in my chair. So when this guy's almost completely turned around, you're going to see some of his nose, right? You can see maybe the corner of his mouth. We could argue whether you'd see any of the eye or not, you know, but let's see what we can do. All right, so again, this was the last keyframe. I want to skip a frame and copy it over here. So that would be frame 7. I'm going to F6 it. Right? And I got to make some decisions about this. Right? Well, for one, could you guys look? Because this one's a little harder to describe. Right? I've locked the lower layer. That's important. It just makes this whole process easier. Right? There's a few things I can do. Well, one, I could start with the eye. So I'm going to select this eye. Now you have a choice. I could possibly flat out delete it, or I could squeeze it quite a bit, even maybe shrink it top to down a little bit. It's really going to feel far away, and then move it way, way over. Like it's really started to take a turn. I might wind up deleting that, right? Right now, I want to use the eraser on the nose, so I think I'm going to move this out of the way and take it back later. So here's my nose, right? I want to show you what I could do with the eraser if I'm careful about it. I'm not erasing the back because I locked that layer, right? Look what happens even if I go a little too far. See how I'm getting that black line there? I kind of like that, right? Thing is, I wouldn't see that much of the nose. I might actually have to pull it in, then try that same routine. You know, I just wouldn't see that much of it. The guy's turning around. You know, if I could see that little bit of stroke, I'd be very happy, but I don't really have to. All right, I'm going to keep it simple though, just like that. Well, that mouth, that eye is too far away, right? I just moved it out of the way because I was afraid of erasing it. To back up a little bit, right? He's starting to turn around, but the mouth is too big. Well, you could see I got a bunch of good choices. Maybe I'm just going to erase some of it since it's mostly on the other side of his head. All right, he's going further. I don't know about you. That pose takes a little bit more thought. It's a subtle kind of thing, you know. I've done it with just deleting that eye. You know, he's turned so far you can't even see the eye. So that's another option. I think that would probably look. I want to show you could judge for yourself whether you think it's better or not. That might be better. Hard to say. I'm going to put it back. I just feel like doing it that way. I love the next view because it's the easiest, right? Could everybody, again, skip a frame, go to the next frame. We're F6ing again, so we don't have to draw endlessly as much as you might like to draw. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th pose out of 8. The other 3 are going to be copies, copied and flipped. But once you're here, here's the weird thing about this. You're actually going to delete all the artwork in that keyframe. I'm going to explain why I asked you to copy it at all, but I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to select it all. It's already selected, but I just want to make my point. Because this is the back of his head. He just turned around. Frankly, that's pretty damn cool. What was that? You know, so your people do that all the time, right? So that's pretty useful. What I do like about the keyframe being there, though, is if I didn't have it, I'd still be seeing the last view. So a hollow keyframe is often used as a way to make the last art disappear. So you just copied your keyframe and deleted the art. All right, what I'm about to do may seem a little bit more complicated. I'm not really sure, right? Anybody have any questions so far? You know, I'll still like you. Okay, here we go. So here's the idea, guys. I really need extra focus on this. You remember how the prior view took us to the back of the head? So that means it's going to look just like this if he continues to turn, but it's going to be on this side. So this is the back of the head, and in frame 11, let's see, where are we? Yes, we're going to skip a frame. In frame 11, I'm going to want to start seeing his face on the opposite side. So you want to go to the view right before he's completely turned around. And if your frame numbers are the same as mine, that's frame 7. How do I copy frame 7 to the position I want? Well, I can't F6 it. So I'm going to option drag it. Now, it's Alt if you're on Windows. It's Option if you're on a Mac. I'm going to press this. I'm dragging right over that keyframe, right over the space next to it, because we're going by 2s, right into 11. Now we're going to flip this, but I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that. I took the view right before the back of his head, held down Option, and dragged it right over this one. I leapfrogged. I made sure the back of the head had its spare frame, since we're going by 2s, which brought me to frame 11. Now, how do we get it to the other side of the head, and how do we flip it? Well, I recommend taking the black arrow and just dragging all those features over. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Flipping it and then getting it into position. I dragged it away so that we're not confused. All right, how do you flip it? Make sure it's selected. If you see the little dots, it's selected, right? You could click the keyframe to select it. You could use the black arrow and make sure to go over all of it. All right, once it's selected, I need for you to get the context sensitive menu. So you're going to right click on any of the art, these 3 things, or control click if you're on a Mac. This is cool. Transform, flip horizontal. So you could do that with anything. Select all of it though. Hold down control, keep it down, click. Once the menu shows up, you don't need control anymore. Transform, flip horizontal. So now I'm ready to move it over. I could use to clean that nose up a bit. I'm going to judge by the mouth on mine. Oh, that's the way it was. Dude, if you want to make any changes, you can go ahead and make changes. It doesn't actually have to match the other side. You know, so if you want to change anything, feel free to do it. All right. So right now, we're ready to see this profile. This isn't quite the profile. So we just stole this view, copied it to the other side. That basically means I want to copy the other profile. So that was the 3rd view you did, the profile. I want to get that into frame 13 right now so that I could drag it to the other side and flip it over. So again, I'm finding the view that I want. Did someone just arrive? Let me just double check. Now it looks like we're okay. So you want to find your original side view, hold down Option or Alt, drag it over everything in your way, past frame 11, past that extra frame, and here we are going into 13. I'm going to want to flip it, but I'm going to use my black arrow and drag it over a bit first. And again, I either control click or right click, depending on my computer, to get to transform, flip horizontal. And then I'm going to drag this all the way over into my side view position. So he's coming back around. Yeah. Getting very close. All right. At this stage, there is an in-between view, right? This was the view, right? But we want it on the other side because he's coming back around to face us again. So it's just the second view that you did that we want to copy. And it's actually going to be the last view. So I find this view, the second view, that would be in frame 3 if you're following exactly. And I'm going to option drag it or alt drag it. One second there. All right. Okay. So of course I got to flip it, right? I've been dragging them over so no one's confused. This one's pretty clear though. Control click or right click. Arrange, sorry, transform. Transform, flip horizontal. And that belongs way over here. Right, he's coming back around, got that far eyes a little smaller. And that's it, right? I actually have here 8 views, right? Even this hollow one's a view, right? Just the back of his head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the way he plays. Now, if you would like to really see him spin and spin and spin, do a command return to see your Swift preview. Of course, you could do control enter. And he keeps going round and round. It's interesting that the eye actually accepts this, you know? I mean, we like to see time as an analog thing, you know? You can't break it down as, oh, seconds, the smallest increment. What about milliseconds, you know? But we're not actually seeing every pose that would exist. Just these few. Guys, could everybody save this one? File menu, save. This is called a turnaround. You might want to call it turnaround 1. All right, I have so many of these that I'm actually going to name it a little differently. I'm going to call mine turnaround 11-20-20 for the date and add an A to it because I'm probably going to do more today. And you can save it anywhere that you want to save it. Now, so I told you a couple weeks back that I made this deal with myself. When something's important, I'm going to do it twice, but I'm not going to do it 3 times. I would like to say something to everybody in the room, though. Honestly, if you want to animate, I recommend you steal this idea from me, this overly simple face, you know, so you could just focus on the animation and do it 100 times for yourself. I literally sit down and do this 5-6 times sometimes just to warm up, you know, till you could do it in 5-10 minutes. You know, it's just not a big deal. And then later on, if you want to do something adventurous, Tiffany likes owls. She can make her owl turn around. You know, that's going to be a lot more complicated. You know what I mean? But you know, you got the concept. I felt the same about walk cycles last week. You know, how can we boil this down so it's clear enough so people just get the idea that it's a very mechanical thing we're talking about. But you could separate it from the artistic elements, which are gorgeous and make it all poetry, but will interfere while you're trying to learn the basics. I'm going to do this one more time and then we're going to take a break. You know, yeah, let's do that. One more time, take a break. Now, folks, listen, I can't police you like I would in the classroom. You know, in the classroom, I'll walk around and I'll visit everybody, right? And I'll see if you're actually doing the project or not. And I'll also see if someone got hung up drawing eyelashes. You know, I'm putting every tooth in this guy's mouth. I'm like, how are you going to learn this? So I'm going to ask you to keep it real simple. We're going to do another one very, very simple. I may actually change a couple things just to keep it interesting. All right. Please make a new one. File menu, new. 640 by 480 at a frame rate of 24. Make sure you could see your whole stage. And we're going to make the head shape first. The fact that we put it on one layer made life kind of easy. Oh, you know what? Choose a background color first. So choose yourself a background color. You know, it'll help us choose our other colors wisely. Picky man. All right. Too somber. I need some joy. All right. Let's get the oval tool. The oval tool fill color. You want to choose your fill. If you want a stroke, you want to choose a stroke color just to keep life interesting. I'm actually going to choose a different, slightly different stroke color. Very different stroke color. Remember, you have the choice of stroke weight. My last one, I thought I was doing a stroke of 4. It looks like I was doing 5. I'm going to back up a little bit. If you like playing with the interesting widths, you could choose one of those. I have to admit, sometimes I find it much easier to draw with the standard uniform. I could always come back later. It's being a little stubborn right now. That happens. But it went well like this last time. All right, in any case, however you want to do it, get that oval for your head down. If you don't like it in any way, this would be a great time to change it. Yeah, get traditional about it. All right. Let's extend that layer to 16. Now, since we just did it before, you saw why I chose 16, I hope, right? If I'd done it in 8 frames, we could have fit the 8 poses, but it would have been like, woo, taking only 8 frames, a third of a second, But since we're skipping frames, he takes twice as long to turn. I could go by 3s, and I think it would look okay, and it would be a much slower turn. I'm going to go by 2s again, though, right? So this layer's done, though. Please rename it. This is the head shape only. Not head shape, head shape. Lock that layer. Make a new layer. I'm going to rename the second layer this time. I want to call it features. And we'll bring my playhead back to the beginning and start drawing those features. Let's upgrade a little bit, right? Say you don't want just circles for eyes, right? What else can we do? We've been using the pencil tool a lot this semester, but I would like to use it more and make us more comfortable with it. I do want to be honest, though. The pencil tool probably is going to be easier to use with a stylus, unlike the pen tool and the shape tools, right? Pencil tool, but I have some tricks for you. So I want to show you what I mean by that. Sometimes you might want to draw a big line. Guys, just watch this for a minute. Say I wanted to draw the smile and my hand's all shaky. That's not actually so bad, but it would be a little easier if I zoom out. I'm using Command minus. And the reason that might be easier is to my hand, I have less distance to go. So there are times when I'll actually zoom out just to make a line easier to make. Right? But I'm not really talking about the mouth right now. I'm talking about the eyes. Right? I want to show you guys something, folks. If you've been anxious to draw or to just upgrade that element, I really want you to see this, right? There's just not enough online about this particular magical way of drawing that Adobe Animate has. you're talking to a guy who's taught drawing for a really long time, traditional drawing in the classroom, you know, with a model and all that, as well as a lot of digital drawing, and that's all been in Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator doesn't work like this, and this is a feature I wish that they would steal. I want to show you something. I got my pencil tool, just like the pen, it draws with the stroke, so I could ignore the fill color for a while. If I wanted an eye, right, one trick would be overlap your lines. Now, I was saying this last week during the walk cycle. You want to overlap the lines. You know something, can I back up for a minute? I do believe this is going to be easier without the fancy stroke. I got the pencil tool. I'm going to come way over here and change it to this. Right, that's the standard line. I could give it the cool line after, but drawing it's going to be a little easier this way. In fact, I'm even going to make it smaller so no one's confused by the super bold. So my main argument is overlap. It's easy to get rid of this stuff. I'm assuming that everyone has the pencil tool set down here to smooth. We did a bunch of this early in the semester. Straighten would look like a stairwell, you know, straight lines, and ink offers you no help. Smooth's going to help smooth it out. In fact, on the bottom of the properties palette is a smoothing slider. I'm going to keep it cranked up to 100. And a lot of that helps, particularly when you're drawing on a mouse pad, on a touchpad. Where it gets interesting, though, is the way the black arrow treats these lines. It's going to let me come over here and click these parts that stick out and delete them. The advantage of crossing them, though, is that they're really easy to fill. I'm going to be able to fill this easily. So it's the black arrow that let me select those parts and delete them. Now, I want to add something before we get busy with the fill. This is all about the pencil tool, really, where I switch to the black arrow. I want to select the whole eye now. I'm going to double click the stroke because I want to show you something. My properties palette got crowded. I never even used this part, position and size. I'm going to click that little arrow to fold it up, right? I could even fold any part up. What I really want you to see is this at the bottom, smoothing. If I click it now, the eye keeps getting smoother. That's kind of amazing. All right, it looks like a pen tool drawing. Give me a second, someone must have got bumped out. I'm going to do it again, all right? I can come back and fill that in a minute. Give me 1 second now. All right. About the pencil tool. To make this thing behave, you typically want to go to the bottom of the toolbar and make sure it's in smooth mode to begin with. All right. So it'll give you smoother lines. If you go to the right on the properties palette, and, you know, again, there's a lot of stuff there. You might have to fold some of it up if you don't see it. But at the bottom of the properties palette is pencil options. Here, but I'll drag it all the way over. It's as smooth as it's going to get. But after you draw, we'll be able to smooth it even more. So I'm just setting up my pencil tool. Smooth mode, 100% smoothing. Here I go. The big thing, and I was surprised to find this, is very different than other programs. The big thing is crossing the line over. I'm going to make mine a little bigger, though. But the next line, I'm going to cross it. I'm not going to try to match it. You know, you think that that's okay. And then often there's some gap you can't even see, and you won't be able to fill it later. We could have drawn the head shape this way, and we might do that later today. You get the black arrow when you're done, delete the parts you don't. I kind of like that line. I might keep it. The ones you don't like, delete them. You know you have a closed object. If you want to smooth it, if you like that look, you want to smooth it even more, make sure you're still in the black arrow and select that whole stroke. I'm going to double click it. And again, the bottom of the properties palette has a smoothing button. Usually these other things are open, so you might never notice it. It's way at the bottom. We had a lot of issues with the size of people's screens, so I'm looking for fixes lately. I'm going to click smoothing. And the more I click it, the smoother it gets. You could over smooth it. It's going to look like a completely different shape. Right? So I'm going to back up. I'm using Command Z right now, by the way. You could have copied either eye if you wanted them to be exactly the same. I want to say a quick thing about modifying these. You know, as always, the black arrow does let you modify shapes, but it's a little clunky, right? You might want to switch to the white arrow, click the edge, and see how many anchors you have, right? Those are a little bit easier to understand. I'm going to get the transform tool for this eye. I'd like it to be a little narrower. You want to baby these a little bit. All right, when you're ready to fill them, there's a number of ways you can do it, right? Make sure nothing's selected. Pick a color that you'd like to use. White's rather tempting. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click that. That was a mistake. Sorry about that. Let's just get the paint bucket. Get the paint bucket, pick a color from here or from the bottom of the toolbar. I could use white. I don't think I want to, though. And fill the eyes. You know, I'm very much afraid of including too much, but I really do have to mention something quickly. You know, you may be bored of these colors by now, and there's a number of ways to get it more colors. But one thing that I'll often do is I'll pick a color from here, come back, and click this little thing in the upper right of the swatches. This gives me a whole world of related opportunities, right? For example, I could just see where the lighter colors are. Click OK. And I'll just pour them back in. You guys all right? How about you guys that never say anything? Somebody. All right, add the pupils. You can take this as far as you want this time, right? And I think I'm gonna speed up the nose and the mouth after this, so we can, you know, maybe it's time for a break. I don't know. I'm gonna make some choices. I got my oval tool. I'm gonna make the color part of his eye simpler. I'm just bored of the same old colors, is what you're actually seeing me do. Fish around a little. I often turn the stroke off for some things. This time I'm actually going to give him a pupil also. If you like the idea of a highlight, same tool in this case. All right. We did a number of new things today. One of them was we talked about a little bit about a varying line weight. And if at any point you see something and you'd like to change the line weight, select it or just select its stroke. And on the properties palette, you'll see this feature again. So you could always keep changing it. Line weight, as well as the shape of the line. And I often like doing it after I draw. They make it a little harder to draw. I'm getting the look that I want. Okay. Now I'm going to go with the same technique for the nose this time, right? Because you could see how complicated the nose got. The whole idea is we want it to be able to stick off the side later. So if you really understood that and you're clear about it, you could probably get away with improvising a little bit. Here's an odd moment though. I got the pen tool, and on the right, it's telling me it's going to use a black stroke. And on the left, it's telling me it's not going to use any stroke. That happens every now and then. Weird, doesn't really match, but I'm going to accept it. And I'm just going to go again with this triangle technique. And honestly, I think it's going to be easy to work with a regular width line. Just gets stuck sometimes, so I'm going to have to live with it for now. All right, no big deal. Same thing happens in Adobe Illustrator. Just make sure you closed it, right? I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to get the black arrow, double click it. I want to pull it off because I really want to make sure when I fill this that it matches the face. I'm going to get the eyedropper. Actually, I want to deselect that for a moment. Then I'm going to get the eyedropper. I got purple ready to go. It automatically chose the paint bucket, which pours colors. I'm going to pour it in there. If yours doesn't pour, there's two things you should look at. When you have the paint bucket, the properties palette gives you this. And this one here has a feature that says close large gaps. Maybe there's a small gap and it just wouldn't fill. I often just leave it set that way. All right, use the black arrow, select it, and move it back on. You know, but as I said, later on, I'm going to want to use this as a side view. So I'm going to take this stroke out. Just want to prove to you it's all still there. All right, let's make ourselves a mouth. Now, if you want to use the pencil tool with everything you just learned, that's fine. All right, I'm going to go with a simple mouth. I'm going to use the pen tool. So I press and drag down to tell the mouth the curve is going to head this way. Then I come on the opposite side and I press and drag up. If you don't like it, you go, well, first off, hit escape and go find the white arrow. The white arrow will let you change the ends by just clicking an end. I could alter the curve at any point in the document. So animators love this. Illustrators love this. I love it. White arrow is fantastic. I could edit anything with the white arrow. Particularly nice for pen tool stuff. Okay, I think we better save this, right? We're gonna, let's save it. File menu, save. I saved the last one to the desktop, and that was named like so. You can name it any way you want. I'm in the habit of naming things with the date and a letter afterwards when I'm doing multiple versions. This is the B version. What do you guys think? Should we take a break, come back and finish this one? Yeah? All right, let's do it. Gabriel's taking the wheel. I appreciate that. And guys, give me some feedback. Is 25 minutes better than 20?
I prefer 25. That's okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
since
Thank you
we're
guys.
going, like, until the afternoon, I think that's fine as well.
All right, let's do it. So it's 10:30 now. We're going to start 5 to 11, not 11, 5 to 11, right? So I'll see you all at 5 to 11, right? Hey, Tiffany, can you stick around for a minute or two? All right, let me just stop the recording. All right. So I imagine this is starting to sink in, you know, and again, anyone who's interested in the assets folder could examine those samples that are in there. There's some for easy viewing, some GIFs, but there's 3 FLAs for anyone who cares to look at them. But there's also that original image that probably makes a hell of a lot more sense right now. Just give me a minute. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, 1 second there, got lost for a moment. this one. Yeah. So you could see the logic of what we did, right? You know, this here, you know, it's interesting to see, you know, how this one was handled. You know, her eyes are very simple and they never really change width or anything like that. They're just moved. You know, the nose, the mouth, the eyebrows. The head's really simple. They're using this big hairdo as a way of hiding the the ear and a bunch of features, even as she approaches the back view. So this is a very economical way of seeing it. The big challenge on this one is the hair, though, you know, because the hair is completely different in each view. It would really need to be redrawn. Doesn't look like it could be copied and transformed so easily. All right, anyway, let's get back. So here we are back where we were um, in the head shapes view, right? We've got, sorry, in this view, the lower level head shape is locked, right? And I'm making that choice to leave the features on an upper level. And I'm thinking them through so that they're easy to use for all the other poses. And that's why the nose is already filled. It's going to help us when we get to the side view. All right, let's move on. All right, so at this stage, we're ready to copy the features to 2 frames over, right? We're going by 2, so we're skipping 1. We're going to frame 3, and we're using good old F6. You know, I could have option dragged there, right? We're doing that for the last 3 poses, but I'm just choosing to use F6. All right, so at this stage, what I've been recommending is using the free transform tool to help us get started. My features are really widespread, and he's turning, so they'd feel a little bit more compressed, and they would definitely feel further over to the right, and that's the direction that he's turning. You know, how far over? Well, it's really kind of up to you. The next view is going to be a side view. Now just remember, even if you're using that system, anything that feels wrong should be dealt with. This far eye should be smaller, not larger than this one. So I'm going to go get my little lasso tool so I can get in there and select it. All that's easy because I locked the head. If not, I would have just selected part of the head. I'm going to use the transform tool then to adjust it, make it a little smaller than the other eye. See if I got carried away there. Got a little carried away. I like the transform tool because it lets you select as well as make these kinds of transformations. A little easier when I zoom in. And I think I'm going to move it over a bit. Anything I don't like at this stage, I'm going to figure out what I want out of it. Some things may need to be moved independently. Some things may need to be just adjusted in other ways. All right, so there's my first 2 views. All right, I want to work on the side view a little bit. So once you're ready with this view, right, we're keeping it very, very simple. I'm going to copy that keyframe over 2 frames. I'm currently in 3. So I'm going to go to frame 5, and I'm going to F6 it. This is the 3rd pose, or the 3rd view. This time, I'm just going to move it over to get started. I selected it by clicking the keyframe, or I could just use the black arrow. It's good to know all the different ways of selecting. And then I'm going to drag it over, all the way over, until I see that nose sticking out. And it looks like I messed up the nose, right? I had a nice fill for it that I left behind, but it seems to be there, so I just moved it over now. I got a lot of the side view already done. This eye sticking off that looks like a Picasso. I'm just going to get rid of it. About the mouth, easiest way to get rid of it is probably with the eraser. You know, I could select parts, right? But that's slow. So I'm going to get the eraser tool on the toolbar. By the way, that's the letter E if you're having a hard time finding it. You just tap E on the keyboard. And at first it looks like I'm erasing the background even. It's just a weird way the program behaves. I'm going to take a quick scrub, they call it, through the timeline and just see how it feels. Not bad. So the next view is another in-between view, right? It's in between the side view and the back view, right? So soon we're just going to see the back of his head, but I have to do one view in between this and the back of his head. So again, I'm going to come to that last frame, and F6 it 2 frames over. So I skip a frame, I go to the next frame, I F6. Whenever you F6 in the timeline, it copies the last keyframe unless you're in a tween. And we're really not doing any tweening right now. So when I F6, it copies the last keyframe, which is really handy for us. All right, this is supposed to be the in-between view. And well, one, I'll see less nose than this because most of it's going to be hidden behind the head. So I'm actually going to back it up. But then I'm going to erase all this part so it really feels like it's around the other side. I could delete the eye, or I could move it real far over and shrink it quite a bit to really make it feel like it's around the edge. The mouth, if I see any, I'm not going to see much. So I'm just going to stick it right off like that and erase the rest. So it feels like he's turning around. He's just past the side view. If you're interested, what I'm doing right now is looking at it keyframe by keyframe. And since we're going by twos, I like this cool feature at the bottom of the screen. If you choose a layer, like our features layer, the bottom of the screen, you see this left arrow and this right arrow. I don't use this in the middle much, though I know some of you guys do. You know, it's one method for inserting keyframes, which is pretty interesting. But, you know, I've taught it a different way. So I use these, though, that just means step to the next keyframe so I could see what my key moments are. All right, the next view, again, is my favorite just because it's so easy to draw. I just did 4 views. I'm on frame 7 currently, an in-between view. I'm ready to get the back of the head. So I'm going to skip a frame, go to the next one, and I'm going to F6. You might remember last time that it's odd that I'm choosing to F6. I'm using it really to make a point and achieve one technical goal, because all I'm really going to do is delete the artwork. I copied that last view to here with F6, and now I'm actually going to delete all the artwork. Mine's selected, so I just press delete. If it wasn't selected, I'd use any of the methods we've been talking about, and I'd press delete. I could have asked you to come here and make a blank keyframe instead, but I thought this might be clear to understand. The only reason I deleted it is this is the back of the guy's head. I can't see his features. So now I've got this going. He successfully turned around to the back. I gotta be clear. You know, this is more than enough in most cases, really. But we want to make them come around the other side. So poses 2, 3, and 4 are the ones that we repeat, right? When it comes around the other side. You know, we do some copying, some flipping, and repositioning. So here's 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to start with 4. So here's the blank, you know, the empty keyframe. Here's a blank for it because we're going by twos. I want to go ahead and put it right here in frame 11. So this is the very last pose before the back of the head. And we're going to steal it. And since I can't F6, I use Option to drag it all the way to frame 11. Because I'm on my Mac, you could use Alt if you're on Windows. Before we go any further and move these features to the other side, just notice the pattern on your timeline. Even this hollow one is a keyframe. Every keyframe has one empty frame after it for timing's sake. The empty one here, this is the back of the head, and it also lasts 2 frames long. Anyway, we just copied. I'm going to move this over. I'm not going to move it all the way over. I'm going to move it just so I don't get confused because I need to flip it now. While it's selected, you control click it, transform, flip horizontal. And then I'm going to go ahead and move it the rest of the way. So now he's starting to come around the other side. And I'm ready for the profile. Well, I just copied the pose before the back of the head. Now I'm going to copy the one before that, the profile. So literally copying going backwards. You find the profile, hold down Option. So you could copy it, skip a frame. That brings us to frame 13. We're almost done. And I got to drag it over and flip it. Every time I'm ready to flip, I hold down Control on my Mac, or I'd right click on Windows. And I'm going down to Transform, Flip Horizontal. There's my profile. And I like to keep checking, see how he looks. All right. I want to come back now and get the next view, which is another view in between the profile and facing forward. So that's the second view that I'm going to steal. So I went backwards. I copied this one first. Then when I was done with it, I copied this one. And now I'm copying this one. Hold down Option and I drag it forward, skip a frame. Flip it. Flip horizontal. Drag it way over. He's on his way back. Now, you know, typically I've been showing you these in Flash Player. Even though I don't have much use for the Swifts, to tell you the truth, really, these days. I use it really here just to take a breath, see the thing, you know, looping easily outside of the program. I could just get a feel. You know, is it communicating what I want? Yeah, this guy's definitely spinning. I'm happy with it. But don't forget, you do have a loop option right inside of Animate. Control menu, loop playback. I use that now and then. Next time you play, it'll just loop just like it does in the Swift file. How is everybody? Any questions for me? Tiffany, how's chatting going on over there? No big news from the chat world? No. All right, guys, listen. What I want to do now is really just spend some time with deeper drawing, you know, and the idea would be a deeper drawing with a, oh good, I'm glad you feel that way, Alyssa, that helps a lot. I want to do some deeper drawing, but with turnarounds in mind, you know. I should probably give you a peek at something before we go forward. I want to show you something on the handout. One minute. All right. I want to give you a peek going forward. So here we kind of broke down the main ideas. I didn't. Oh yeah, I actually gave you a hell of a lot of details of all the steps we just took. Broke down in specific steps. We're going to be talking more about more drawing methods coming up, but I want to give you a peek at the homework. This is the final project today, right, that I'm offering, you know, and it says this is due next class, but that is not entirely accurate now that I think about it. I do want to check my calendar for a minute. I go over these a million times, but the dates are always changing. So I just want to double check something. Did they just update this the very moment that I need it? All right, I'm going to look at this for a second. So let's see. December 3rd is a Thursday, so that's pretty weird. We don't have, oh, here we go. All right, oh, I see. I just need to change that to the 4th. So basically, it looks like I'm giving you guys 2 weeks for this assignment, which makes a lot of sense. I'm going to check the date, right? So let me just reiterate, right? It isn't actually due next week. I'm going to give you 2 weeks for it. So that's going to be in December. And just to be crystal clear about it, it's the 20th. It's going to be due December 4th. All right. But since I'm jumping ahead, which I don't usually do this early, all right, I just want you to know a couple things that may affect how you see what we do now. I wanted to create an original turnaround. So I don't want anything looking like this guy, right? Not at all. All right. I really want you to come up with something of your own, right? So an original turnaround. Now, a couple of things I wanted to keep in mind is I wanted to have some kind of meaning. And before we leave today, I might show you some from the past, right? But it should be in some kind of environment, not in a big void. Is he indoors? Is it outdoors? You know, is she sitting at a desk? You know, is he outside? You know, in the forest? Simple is okay, right? But I don't want it to be empty. I want it to have some kind of environment. This person belongs in that environment. I do want to add, though, that I don't necessarily need for you to do a complete turnaround. I don't really need it to be 360 for this particular assignment. You know, maybe what's better for you, maybe you want somebody to do this and say, what? What? You know, like they're two different people trying to get their attention? Huh? Huh? Or maybe they just turn around for some reason. So you have to have something in mind that involves the notion of turning someone's head, right? So 360, if you want, I had someone do an office chair. It was particularly interesting, actually. I was bored at work spinning, you know. The other thing I want to mention is I'm not addressing the body. You know, it's the same ideas for the body, but it would be a little strenuous. You know, if you have the need to have an entire body turn around, you probably could figure that out at this point. But if you don't want to, just limit it. You know, do a close-up situation, you know, look like Zoom, you know, or put an object in front of the person's body. You know, they're behind the desk, so that feels like they have a whole body, but you're not drawing the turnaround. So be practical. You know how much energy you have, you know how much time you have, but you also know how much ambition you have. All right, just wanted to mention it early. So I want to go over some drawing techniques that may help. All right, let's go back to animate. If you'd like to save the more recent one, right, update it. Most of us have named it already, so just a plain old Command S will make sure that it's up to date entirely. Let's go ahead and open ourselves a brand new document, File menu, New. Sticking with the same numbers. Let's click Create. Right, make sure you could see your whole stage. All right. Now, what I'd like to do with you guys is juggle some of the tools and methods that we've tried, right? Sometimes I'll start with an oval like we just did, but I'll completely adapt it by using the wide arrow. Sometimes I'll draw everything with the pencil tool, a personal favorite. Sometimes I'll draw everything with the pen tool. Most ordinarily, I'll juggle geometric shapes, sometimes with merge mode, right? Pencil drawing with a lot of overlapping lines like we did on the eyes, right? Or the pen tool for those of you who are comfortable with the pen tool. I want to start with a new way of seeing the geometric shapes. Could everybody get the oval tool? Oh, you know what? Actually, can you set a background color? So if necessary, get your black arrow. So the oval tool doesn't think you're looking for a color. And choose a color for your stage, any color you feel like using. I'm a finicky guy today, I really am. All right, then I'd like you to get the oval tool. We're gonna make a longer oval because I wanna make something just a dash more realistic, and then we're gonna adjust the shape. But whatever color you wanna use is fine. I often use completely unearthly colors for my heads. And I think I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna go with this pale blue that I already have. If you don't want to stroke at all, remember you could always choose stroke of none. I'm going to make the stroke very narrow on this one, using a 2-point stroke. And it's still giving me a hard time getting back to the regular shape. I may have to change it after. All right, in any case, make yourself a longer oval, not crazy like that. Something you could, you know, somewhat human looking. If necessary, get your black arrow and move it, or even the transform tool, so you could change the size and move it. I want to make a few points about how to adjust this shape if you had something more specific in mind. You know, if I'm doing a truck driver or a boxer, I want a much squarer head, you know, for that kind of thing. You know, if I'm doing somebody who's very genteel and delicate, I want a different kind of head. So there's a lot of ways I could do it. You know, one thing I might mention is if you take the stroke off, merge mode is friendlier. You know, I'm not saying that I would do this, but I could conceivably do this. I'm going to back up after this, though. I just want to point it out that I could make a very different kind of head by merging it with a different shape. I got a friend with a beard like that. I'm going to Command Z, though. What I want to show you instead, though, and you can leave the stroke on or you could take it off, is what the white arrow can do for you. I want you to click the edge of that shape. Now, it looks like I need a different background so you guys can see what I'm doing. So once I click the edge with the white arrow, these little anchors show up. So what you can do, just going to zoom in a little bit, is you could take any of the anchors to bring them in and start altering the shape. Now, since we're roughly symmetrical, you might want to remember which anchors you used so you can match them on the other side. I got something a lot more like a person. Since we started with an oval, every anchor has these handles sticking out. Now remember, the anchors are in the middle. The handles act a little bit like a seesaw. But you could use them to change curves, mostly by pulling. You want any area to be rounder. Or you pull them in to make it less round, you pull it out to make it more round. This is all about drawing right now. The white arrow is a big, big player, right? Everything you draw has anchors around it. Some of these produce few anchors and they're easier to work with. Some produce too many anchors and they're harder to work with. I want to mention, though, that if you feel like there are too many anchors, you could take them out. If you're interested in removing anchors, right? Some programs let you do it with the pen tool. This program doesn't. I have to get another tool. I'm going to make this one short, but if you're interested, you could join me. Click the three dots. This is the delete anchor point tool. It's a partner of the pen. I'm going to take it out. I could drag it on top of the pen to make a little set out of it or right next to it. I'm going to click the three dots. Why would I do that? You know, sometimes I think I have too many anchors. I'll take that and I'll click on an anchor to take it out. And then I'll go back to the white arrow and work with those curves in a different way. An old rule about anchor points: fewer anchors make a smoother shape. All right, it's one method. Start with geometric shapes and adapt it. Right? I could have used the black arrow, but it's a little clumsy. The white arrow let me get at the anchors as well as those handles sticking out for curves. I added this to remove anchors when I thought there were too many. Does anyone have any questions for me? No? All right. Okay, let's deal with the eyes and features, but I still want to get back to the timeline first. So let's revisit the timeline. I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Get back to my black arrow. Does more things. I don't need the white arrow anymore. So remember, the way we've been doing it with this 8 method, going by twos, it takes 16 frames to finish. So I'm going to put F5, right? Remember, F5 is just the filler, right? Stretch it out in frame 16. And then I'm going to lock this layer. I could unlock it if I want to come back, work on the head. So make it 16 frames, lock it, and make your new layer. Could you rename both these layers? Remember, the one on the bottom is just head shape. Though I have to tell you honestly, though, I'm still debating about something in my head. If I need a lot of control of the features, like I talk with my eyebrows a lot. you know, and I'm going to need them each on their own layer to have total freedom. I'm skipping ears so far. I think I'm going to get nervy and add ears to this guy. Ears are a headache when they go in the side view, but I'm going to be nervy about it. So really, frankly, you kind of need a layer for more elaborate animation for every single feature. You know, so do I really want one for each eye? I got to ask myself. You know, I think I'm going to start simple. Nose, eyes, ears, mouth. We need 4 layers on top of the head shape. Let's try it out. So I got 1 layer above the head shape. I'm going to take 2, 3, and 4. Some people would choose to go to the right layer, draw that feature. I often do it that way. Some people would draw it all on 1 layer and see if they could use distribute to layers, which we've tried before, to get the shapes to the other layers. I'm a little on the fence about it. I've been avoiding object drawing mode today, but if I finish drawings and make each one objects, remember how they're freeze dried? I'll have it very easy moving them to other layers. I think I'm going to try it. Let's try that out today. All right, let's use the lowest layer for a while, and then we'll use the other layers. So we're going to just work, not on the lowest, I mean layer 2. I think I jumped ahead because I wasn't sure how I wanted to handle it. So layer 2, I'm going to do all the drawing. We'll figure out how to move stuff to other layers after. All right, I'm voting for the pencil tool again. You might remember about the pencil tool, you want to make sure it's set to smooth, unless you want a super angular look. Could be cool, but I'm going to set it to smooth mode. I'm looking on the right side, trying to find the very bottom. Pencil options and setting this up to 100 also. I guess I should double check my colors, right? So these are the colors I currently have. I got black for the stroke and the tool draws with strokes. That's all I'm concerned with. The main idea is please overlap. If you want to fill this with color later, you're going to be glad I showed you how to do this. Zooming in with Command plus. I'm going to get the black arrow. I'm going to delete this extra stuff. I said to you earlier, you might have it easier with the pencil tool. I just want to show you this again for anyone who could stand it. If you turn this feature off, which I have to say, it is a little annoying. Sometimes I've had this issue in a couple different programs, why it won't let me do that so easily. Just using Illustrator tricks, but it's not behaving, so I'm going to have to ignore that idea. Oh, look, it did it after. Isn't that funny? Could be this one. I had to come back up to the top. I've been researching this subject for a while. That's odd. Really odd behavior. Okay, in any case, get the black arrow when you're ready to delete extra stuff. You could select the whole stroke by double clicking it anytime you want to make a change to it. Now, if you want life a little easier about the next eye, this is what I would do. We've been doing copying and flipping today, so why not take advantage of it? I'm going to select that eye whenever I'm ready, hold down Option or Alt to copy it. I think everybody's used to that trick, right? But I do have to flip it over. When I'm ready to flip it over, I'll control click it or right click. Transform, flip horizontal. So now they're both pointing inward and I'm good. Yes, I could draw eyelids and the rest of it. And just to be complete, I want to show you how cool this program is in that way. Watch this. If I overlap here to make an eyelid, probably should have done that before I made the other eye. Could have copied it. I can get the black arrow, delete the extra. Well, it's just such a cool feature. When I'm ready to fill, getting my paint bucket here, choosing a color, even adapting the color if I want. It's filling just that shape. Even the eyelids, I could give a different color in the exact same method. Fill. I could choose any color that I want. That's so interesting. I could have the lower lid the same way if I want. And the thing that's so cool about this, I could still smooth it. I could even delete the strokes and everything's going to behave. You know, I could delete the strokes and everything's still there. I know my colors are a little subtle, so it's hard to see, but I could do it. I could select the whole thing at any point if I want to smooth it some more. So I don't want anyone to forget this. The very bottom of the properties palette has smoothing. I'm covering a lot. And a lot of this is review-ish. You should not be shy if I race through just the feature you wanted. You know? Okay. The nose. So I've been using this weird triangle nose, and I think you guys saw why. It was really all about just helping me use the same nose on the front view and the side view. But really, the animations you know and you watch on TV, some of them may do that because they have very short production windows. But others are just taking their time. They're just redrawing every feature. So I'm going to show you a method that I use for nose. It's easy in front and not as easy in the side view, but I just want to mention it. I'll often draw with shadows completely. I think I want to do one quick thing to these eyes before I do it. Just give me a minute. Because I'm going to take the strokes off of the eyes. You don't have to. I want to use the pencil tool. My goal is to draw the nose by just drawing the shadow underneath the nose. And here's the way I'm going to do it. I check that I have a stroke color. That's the only color that the pencil tool cares about. And I could stick with that. I could. Why not? But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to cross over it because this shape's going to be a shadow soon. Now, if I've already established a shadow color somewhere else, I'll get the eyedropper, click it to select it. It automatically switches to the paint bucket and I could fill it in. If I don't have an established shadow color, I'll just pick one now. But I like this one. Yeah, I still have that extra stuff. At any point, I can go back. I could either delete the extra parts if that's what my goal is, or I could double click the stroke and delete it completely. There's my nose. I'm going to use similar logic for the mouth, and I just want to say something about drawing mouths. Obviously, there's a million ways to draw a mouth, right? They're all good. But if you ever took figure drawing with me, which I've taught at some length in the past, we draw from the model, and I'm grueling about drawing the model. It has nothing to do with animation, that class, but it does help animators. One thing that's usually true, and it's probably true on your kindly tour guide right now, I'm giving you a close-up. The top lip is darker. It's not because of human anatomy. It's because the light is usually above you. In your case, it may be different. Like if your monitor's down here and it's shedding light on your face, it may be different. But usually sunlight, a lamp, definitely a light on the ceiling, the inner lip, the upper lip leans back and it's in shadow essentially. Sometimes people will just draw that lip. This is what I mean by that. I'm gonna get the pencil tool. And I'm drawing some kind of shape. I don't really like that last little bit there. Oh, it's gonna be a little easier if I zoom back. My finger doesn't have as far to go. That'll do it. I'll move the mouth over later. I'm just drawing the top lip. I'm going to cross this. Cross it again. Let me come back forward now. So I could delete the outside if I was going to keep those lines. I don't think I'm going to keep them though. But I just want to make that point. Is the upper lip. But since I'm using the shadow idea, I'm using this dark blue as my shadow color. I'm going to fill this again. I'll get the eyedropper just to be sure I find the color I want. Gives me the paint bucket automatically and I fill it. If I don't need the stroke anymore, I'll use the black arrow to get rid of it. And I kind of like this mouth. I could stop there. You know, if I want some kind of reference to the lower lip, which would typically be getting hit by the light, you know, it's on a different angle, right? I'll probably just do the shadow underneath that lip. This is just one method, right? I mean, your own methods are fine. I am sure they're fine, right? I'm just pointing out the idea of how you draw thinking about shadows. This is going to just be a little shadow underneath there. Again, I'd get the eyedropper, but I already have the fill color I want. So I can go right to the paint bucket. I'm going to eliminate strokes because this particular drawing looks better without it. Let me go finish up these eyes quickly. I think everybody's fine on their own with the eyes. Didn't expect that. I like the way that stroke worked out. I have an automatic pupil. Never really thought about that. That's an interesting way to do an eye. That was an accident. Looks like he's got a pupil and an iris. Huh. I gotta remember that. That's pretty convenient. One less shape to move around. Before we even attempt the ears, I'm gonna warn you. You know, I woke up this morning thinking I'm gonna keep this class simple, right? And I really wanted to do the turnaround in a very simple way. I'm very satisfied, by the way. But it isn't fair for me to make believe everything is that simple. Not everything is. And those of you who like details, I want you to also have your opportunity. So I'm going to try to end the class a little early today. Not this early, obviously. It's, you know, just not all the way to 12:40. But I do want to focus mostly on drawing with an eye toward if anyone wants to take this further. Maybe for the homework even, since you're doing your own drawing right now. I don't know. But I want to bring up some ideas using things we learned before. You know, these may behave better as objects. Remember, I really don't like the language this program used, but object meaning the dried kind, object mode. I did all this in merge mode, right? Can I just take the parts that I want and freeze dry them? You know, it's gonna make them easy to move around. There may be some advantages to it. I'm gonna do it, and I would like you to join me on it. Remember, the lower layer is locked, and it's still a merge mode object, right? Currently, I've got everything on layer 2. What I want to do is take my black arrow and select the eye, and I want to show you something on the properties palette. This button here is going to treat that as one dried unit. So in other words, you'll never have this kind of problem, right? Well, let me think about it. Is that true? Well, at least it won't merge with other objects. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to click that. That's as though I drew it in mode to begin with. And it's worth trying this out to see if you like this way of doing it. Selecting the other eye, I'm going to make it an object. I'm going to select the nose. On the properties palette, object tab, there's this little button, create object. Freeze dried objects, they won't merge with anything. Now, the ears concern me. You know, I like merging ears with the head. It looks great, but I will have a hard time turning the head if I do that. So I think we better make the ears a separate object also. So Here's the way I'm going to suggest it, right? You could draw it any way you like, but I just want you to see this particular method. I think I'd like to get my eyedropper and borrow the colors of the head because the ears are going to match it. Now, I'm going to switch to the oval tool. Now, you might notice that I already got this green stroke over here. So if I start drawing ears now, this is what I'm going to get. How do I feel? Okay with that? No, I don't want it on mine. So I'm going to turn the stroke off before I draw. Slash. So here comes an ear. Here comes another ear. This guy looks angry. Should have changed his mouth. It's pretty interesting though. Remember, those ears are not on the same layer as the head. Those ears are not on the same layer as the head, so I could still move it. All right, they're going to take a little bit more work on some of the views, but I think I would like you to actually make those into objects too. I just want to add, you can make the ear more complicated just by using the black arrow alone or the white arrow to change the shape. Whenever you have it the way you like, select an ear. Let's make it into an object. You'll see the blue box around it. It looks like a symbol. In many ways, it behaves just like a symbol does. All right, I got a head where every symbol except for the big shape at the bottom. And I think I'm okay with that. I'm going to leave that alone for now. Can everybody save whatever you have so far? We really wouldn't want to lose it. File menu, save. I'm going to call this one just head. I'm not sure if we're going to get to make a turn just now. And I'm still saving loose to the desktop. Kind of messy habit. I clean it up later. All right. Now, since they are objects, I'm asking myself, do we need to move them to other layers or not? You know, I've been in some situations where that's for the better, right? I've been in some situations where it's really not necessary. But I have to say something to be very clear. If these were merged, still in merge mode, you'd be very wise to move them to other layers. If they touch each other, they're going to merge, you know, or they're going to break each other in one way or the other. So lately I've been into this approach where even if I'm merging, when I'm done, I click that object button. You know, this way they can't hurt each other. They're all safe, you know. So I think I'm going to leave them on that layer. We'll see if I'm wrong. But guys, just in case, why don't we delete these layers? The ones that are empty. And if I change my mind about it, we'll move stuff to other layers. There's a lot of ways to do it. You know, to be frank, I've done like a lot of these head turns. And all I discover is that there's an infinite number of approaches. I don't want to convince anybody that there's one method. Certainly not mine. They're just literally infinite, right? Okay, let's see if we can make them turn. Okay, so the bottom layer is locked, 16 frames long. We're ready to make one in between view as he approaches the profile. So I'm going to go into frame 3, going by 2s. So I skip a frame. That brings me to frame 3, and I'm going to use F6 to copy it. All right. Well, I don't think we're going to see this ear at all. I'm just going to drag it off for the moment. And I'm going to select the rest of the face. And I'm going to see if the same method we used last time is going to behave with this type of drawing. I'm getting the transform tool, and I'm squashing things a bit. And I'm moving it over here. Now the face has got a pretty decent start. Just want to make sure that I don't go up or down. The ear is wrong. Now I warned you that this was going to be a problem, right? I want you to find that ear. You know roughly where it is. And I want to introduce something new to you. You know, when you're in object drawing mode, you could still change the shape of things, right? I'm wondering if I could add a stroke to it now. Since his color is the same color as the rest of the head, it's disappearing. But if I give it a stroke, I might be able to get away with it. And I'm going to be the guinea pig to see if this works out. There's a tool I'd like to introduce you to, right? But right now, I'm going to come here. Since this object selected, I got my fill stroke with a color. If I go to the stroke box, can I just pick a color now? And I can, but I don't like the way that it looks. So I just want to repeat how I did that. If you're in object mode, just click it. Click the stroke box, and you can give it a stroke if you don't already have one, stroke color. You could still come over to the properties palette at any time and change anything you want that you might not like about that stroke. And I don't like the way it looks at all. Take complete liberties with it, right? I think it's gonna look better turned on mine, so I turned mine. I'm gonna move it over. And this is the part I wanna really show you. I'm gonna get the eraser and see, even though it's an object, will it let me erase a little of that stroke? Nice. So this is really what I got. Guys, listen, you're gonna need your own method to deal with noses and ears. They each have their own set of peculiar problems. You know, like I'd be tempted to just draw the shadow of where the ear would be since I've done so much of that. You know, that might look better. I can't recycle much to do that. You know, I would have to do something kind of like the same methods that I was using earlier and see if that works. You can see with enough play that might be better. Choice is yours. I'm going to go back to what I had. There's too many choices, really. I want to add, though, since the shape is so much more complicated, what do we do down here? Well, it's kind of weird looking. You know, maybe we should be copying the head also. Let's focus on the features and see if we can come back and deal with this head shape, which is looking kind of eggy for this type of drawing. Let's go ahead and do the profile. We'll deal with that larger shape later. So I'm going to go 2 frames over and F6 it. Again, the profile's got the nose sticking off the edge. You can see the trouble I'm going to get in, right? I'm going to have to move things around quite a bit. I'm going to get rid of anything I don't need. I left some stray stuff here last time. Wait a minute. Here's the new view. I'm going to get rid of this eye. I'm going to need that nose. I'm going to need a little of the mouth, so I'm just going to move it over. All right. I'm going to deal with what's easier first. About the mouth, well, I moved it into position. I'm just going to use the eraser to clean it up. I'm trying to avoid having to redraw. That's going to work fairly well. That nose is a real problem, though. And I have to admit, I'll keep doing this in different ways. Could you watch something? I've been waiting for a chance to show you this. Remember how we turned all these features into drawing objects? You know, if I click on this one and I want to paint on it, that's going to be hard. I could double click it. And right now I'm in object editing mode. This is very similar to symbol editing mode, but I can't hurt anything else. It's sort of like isolation. I've isolated this particular object. You look up in the top left, this looks kind of familiar, right? We've done this with graphic symbols. It does a similar idea with objects. If you want to edit them at a deeper level and you want to separate them from the rest, just double click it, right? And I'm going to zoom in now. I got a second there. I should have just clicked it first. And I got to figure out how to adapt this. I want to introduce uses of the paintbrush. We used it a little bit last week. Paintbrush. The most interesting thing about the paintbrush is this brush mode business. Paint normal is the way it comes when you first get this program. But I'll use paint fills and paint behind. I'm going to show you paint behind. I got paint behind. I want to pick a color. This tool works with fills, not strokes. I'm going to allow that. Actually, I don't want that to happen. Let me click off of that first. Sorry. I had this selected. Back to the paintbrush. Set to paint behind. I'm going to make sure that I got the face color. Watch this. I said paint behind, right? So let's see what happens. See, it went right behind that shadow. That's pretty cool. So if you ever do need to paint behind something, that might come to save the day. You know, I'm not sure that I like this shadow or not. It is kind of a fun look though. I'm going to see how well this goes today. Whenever I'm done figuring out that nose, I'm going to head back. But I'm still not completely happy with it. I think I'm going to take the eraser to it, see if I could shave a little off. Can't hurt the head. I'm in isolation mode just for the nose, or object editing mode. Whenever I'm done, I'm going to click that back arrow till I'm back in the movie. I could see something went wrong with the color. I'm going to go back into the mode there and try it again. Give me a second. Can't simply click it now because it's got two shapes, unless I'm happy with this color. So, no. I think I am. All right. You know, we're probably going at different paces. Some of you are probably far ahead of me. Some are a little bit behind. The next view is another in-between view, right? It's going to be between the side view that we're looking at and the whole back of the head. So we're just going to see a little bit of the nose, a little bit of the mouth, maybe some eye. I don't know. So I'm going to copy that last keyframe. Again, I skip a frame, going by twos, and I F6. So this is a lot of recycling. I keep on borrowing my own elements. Okay, so the way I have the nose, I could simply move it over so it feels further away. It's on the other side of his head. If you have a stroke, you may need to erase some of it, like we've been doing in the last exercises. The mouth, I'd only see a little tiny bit. I'm going to move that over and erase the rest. The eye, I am completely tempted just to get rid of it. I think I will. Right, he's turned around so much. This ear would definitely need to move since he's turning around. Here's my guy now. This is what he looks like looping. Pretty convincing turn. Not really happy with that line for the ear. I might rethink it. Right now I'm going to allow it. The thing I like least is the shape of his head as it turns. When we were working with that egg head on the last assignment, it was easy, you know, an egg on the exact same axis isn't going to change at all. But a head changes a hell of a lot. You know, all right. Let's do the back of the head anyway. So again, we go 2 frames over in F6. And I'm going to delete the features. Ooh. This is what we get. Here he is looping. It definitely looks like he's turning around. That much I got going. All right. So I want to you fourth view, save the day, right? Because we steal them for the last 3 views. You know, so that's a lot of drawing. So I like anything I could recycle. right? So this is going to be the same routine that we did on the last assignment, on the last exercise, I should say. So here's the view of the back of the head. I want to go backwards. I'm going to steal this one first, then I'm going to steal the one before it, and then I'm going to steal this one. So here we're on the back of the head. We're ready to borrow this guy, the one just before it. Since I can't F6 in this particular case, I have to Option drag or Alt drag over the back view, skip a frame, all the way out here to frame 11. Same numbers as before. The whole idea is I'm going to take this over, this little tiny bit, and I'm going to flip it. Right, I control click or right click. This is laid out heavily on the handout. The handout's going to be very helpful to you guys later. Transform, flip horizontal. I'm talking too much. Control click or right click. Transform, flip horizontal. Do your best to drag it into place. And now we're ready to back up another step. We just borrowed this guy that's on 7. So we want to go back and borrow the one before it, which was on 5. Same trick. I'm going to Option drag it or Alt drag it. Skip a frame. Pull it over. I'm going to control click on it so that I could flip it. Transform, flip horizontal. Then I'm going to continue taking it out there. That's the profile. This nose is sticking out. And right now, this is what I got. All right. So there's one more in between view. By the way, remember, if you don't like anything that you've copied, you're free to edit it. No one's comparing. So I need that last in-between view between this profile and facing forward. So this is the first one we stole. This is the next one. This is the one we want now. This in-between view. I'm going to Option drag it, pull it way over here. Same routine. Flip it. Transform, flip horizontal. Move it into position. Now, if the head looked better, we could argue that we're done. But we do need to do a little bit more. It's definitely more advanced than the other one. And you know, for some styles, this would be okay. Change the head's going to be a bunch of steps, though. I think I am going to take it on with you, however. I'd like you to save what you have. So, you know, one thing I want to say as a motion graphics guy doing character animation now, I have one advantage. I had a very large cartooning history, but that was in print. When I moved into animation, all that old skill sets just started coming out. One thing I would say that's a little different about the way I do things as a commercial artist is, frankly, I don't really have a consistent style. You know, I like just freely changing styles a hell of a lot. I don't really have things boiled down to systems because each type of drawing has different requirements. So with this guy, since he's looking more realistic, he may need a neck to help you figure out what to do with the rest of the head. And I'm going to suggest putting that neck on its own layer underneath the head because we probably won't need to redraw it at all. So I'd like you to try this with me. I'd like you to make a new layer, call it neck, and drag it to the bottom. It's right underneath the head shape. I'm simply going to get the rectangle tool to start this. So I want you to make a new layer, drag it to the bottom. Let's bring the playhead to the beginning too. So at the bottom, we're at the first frame, and I'm going to get the rectangle tool. I want to borrow colors from his head to start. So I'm going to get this eyedropper and just click his head. Now, I'm going to switch to the rectangle tool. Now take a look at the colors you got though. You probably just copied the fill and the stroke. Do you want the stroke? If you do, keep it. If you don't, click the stroke box and choose stroke and none. I want to show you something. I could simply do this. I just want to back up a bit though. And then get busy with the head. But it might be better if the neck was darker. It's a little separate from the head. So I'm going to click the fill chip so that I can either pick a darker color from here or from this little symbol in the top right. I just want to mention though, you could do it from here or the properties palette, any fill chip, you could click it and then click this to see what you might want to use nearby. Showing me a comparison. This looks like it could work for me. And let's see if that was worth it. A little better. I just want to add, there's any number of ways if you felt like you needed some kind of reference to a body. I just did that with an oval. Because he's off stage. I'm going to save again. I'm putting this stuff on its own layer underneath because I don't want to move it. I don't really want to animate his neck or his shoulder span or whatever I've got going there. I could. And often if the rest goes beautiful and I'm all fired up, I'll go back and add details all over the place. But this is not essential. So I'm keeping it really, really, really simple. I want to add also today, we're combining a whole different set of philosophies about how to draw. How do you draw with geometric shapes? I think some of you guys might remember Little Bill. I think it's been offline. It's just an old favorite. My daughter was young when Little Bill was online. And it was screamingly flash looking, maybe with dabs of After Effects in it or something like that. But every now and then I'm drawing and I'm like, damn, I draw a lot like those Little Bill people. And it's probably because we're using similar techniques. They probably just like building things based on simple geometric shapes. All right. I want to see how this guy feels now. And it's still not there, but it's better and easier to understand now. All right, what about that head? If this head is not working with one view, we're going to go ahead and make more. And if you also want to change your head layer, unlock it, lock the other two layers just to keep it safe. And what we're going to do is copy the one keyframe into frame 3 and adjust it. If we like it, we're going to keep going, F6ing down the road. So I'm going to come right over here to frame 3 on the head shape layer, and I'm going to F6. Now I got to do some winging it. I think I'm going to get my white arrow to see what the anchor points look like. I could add anchor points to help me draw a chin. I have these 3 down here. I'm just not sure they're enough. How would you add an anchor point? If you want to join me on this, you're going to have to get the white arrow. Make sure that you copy the head shape. I'm on the second keyframe. Use the white arrow to click the edge. You can see what anchors there are. You might want to watch this demonstration. I mentioned earlier how to remove anchor points. I'm in a situation where I'd like to add them. I'm clicking here. This is the Add Anchor Point tool. I'm going to drag that somewhere. Click those 3 dots. I'm going to take this over here, and it's got a plus sign on it, telling me it's going to add an anchor. And I'm going to come right on this selected path, and I think I'm going to add one right here. Now, because of that, I could get I'm going to hit, I'm going to hit escape, accept that, go back and get my white arrow again. Now, I could pull this out. He's got a little bit of a chin. Maybe I want to pull this better. I'm going to probably go back and adjust the neck later. It's too blocky. but I do like the chin here. If you missed it, I'm going to do that one more time because it's just so odd. So I was suggesting that you get the white arrow and that you click the edge of your shape. You could Command plus after that to get an easy zoom in. I just could tell that this anchor and this anchor were not enough to work with. You know, braver people might have tried to use the black arrow. You know, now that I'm looking at it, that's going kind of well. I'm going to Command Z it though, since I did show you the other method. More nitpicky. So this shows me where the anchors are. If I don't think that they're in helpful places, I'm going to switch over to the Add Anchor Point tool and go carefully right on that edge. It's called a path, and add the anchor. That gives me the freedom to use the white arrow on any of those anchors. I do like to click Escape lately after I use any pen tool, so I don't accidentally click around. Go back and get the white arrow. So there's the original anchor. This is the new one, and I'm pulling it out. I can move any of them that have handles sticking off. I could change curves. Hey, over there. You know, by the way, I didn't expect the black arrow to work that well. 50-50 with the black arrow. You know, we started the semester, we were changing shapes a lot with the black arrow. You know, this is very detailed. So sometimes I probably should be trying the black arrow, save a lot of time. If it doesn't work, Command Z and do it the more complex way. Generally, I like the simple way first. Generally. All right. I think I'm okay with this one. So I'm back to that head shape layer, and I'm going to copy it over to frame 6. I'm on 3 now. No, actually frame 5. Skip 4, go into 5. They'll all match, so it's easy to see. So I'm going on that layer, skipping a frame, and I'm going to F6 in there. Click it. F6. There's my copy of the head. I want to make sure I could see what I'm doing, so I'm backing up a little bit. This is side view. It really looks a little bit better than you know, this head's sort of working inside view. I might not need to make any change, but if you feel like you need to, go ahead and make it now. It's really looking pretty good. I'm okay with it. I haven't dealt with this weird thing in the back of the head. You know, it's a little funny. I might come back later. If you like your side view, right? Move on to the next slot. Easy to find now. F6. The head's turning away. I probably wouldn't see that much chin, but trust yourself, you know, just feel it. You don't really have to, you know that much anatomy. It obviously would be helpful, but I think your intuitions might be enough. As long as it looks good, feels good, it is good. So I'm going to go to the next slot. Now here's the thing about the next slot. That's the back of the head, the back view, right? I might be better off borrowing this and putting it here. You see that? Than trying to adjust this one. So I think I'm going to do that. For the back view, I'm going to copy frame 1 with the option drag, the alt drag technique. I'm going way back to the first head I drew here. I hold down option, drag it way over the next slot. We're in slot 9. There's the back of the head. Got to go get his ears. Told you the ears were going to be a bit of a nuisance. Got him here. So let me slow down for a minute. Got myself in a small situation, but not a big one, right? I got to go get those ears and paste them where they belong. You know, guy turns around, I'm still going to see roughly the same silhouette, right? I think the best way I could think of is to go back to frame 1, unlock the layer that has the ears, get my black arrow, which is the best selection tool for plain old selecting. Click one ear, hold down shift, click the other ear. Remember, they live back here in frame 1. Copy with Command C. Right now, before you paste, you want to get to the right frame. This is where I needed it. For the record, we've been using Command V for paste, which is under the edit menu, right? And that's paste and center. But this one's cooler. Paste in place. So that means paste it, but don't just randomly put it in the middle of the screen. Put it where it belongs. Paste in place. If you're a big shortcut fanatic, this means Command Shift V. And animators use this a lot. I use it a lot. So this is going all right. There's the back view. And we're ready to start copying and flipping. Same logic. You know, if the frame earlier looked good there, it'll look good when the guy's head turns back around. So remember, it was 2, 3, and 4 we kept stealing, right? In terms of number of poses. So I'm going to go on the head shape layer, back up one shape, and I'm going to copy it into the new slot. The next 3 are all going to be copied and flipped. Option drag it over. I'm just going to flip it. I may not even need to drag it anywhere. Control or right click, transform, flip horizontal. Now it looks pretty good at first glance. I'm going to accept it. I just borrowed this guy, so I'm going to go back a step and borrow the one before it, the profile. Remember, we're heading to the profile here. So I'm going to back up, find the original profile head shape, option drag it into the new slot. You know, it's pretty weird. I better flip it. And now I am ready for this view, right? It's funny, it looks kind of okay with that same head, right? But I'm going to stick with the plan. This was the one of the in-between view as it starts, you know, closest to front view. Option drag it. And I better flip it. You know, I want to mention something though. If at any point you're about to make a move and you're like, hey, wait, but it looks good, feel free to keep it. You know, no one but you knows the systems you're using. You just want it to feel right. Your audience doesn't care about anatomy really. Come on, Charlie Brown, he's a mutant. His head is huge. You know, South Park, they're even weirder than Charlie looks. So it's really just about like, how convincing does it feel? You got to trust the feeling. All right. I'm going to save again and get a look at it in Flash Player. And it's pretty convincing, not utterly convinced, right? I think the body shape should be altered, the back of his head. I'm going to do some quick edits, right? Just for some recommendations, all right? I could unlock all the layers if I want. All right. Right now, on this particular layer, I think I want to change the neck. I'm just going to try it with the black arrow. That's better. Remember, the neck's by itself. It's one keyframe. So I'm going to get a lot of mileage out of that one little change. That helped a lot. Might even curve the neck a bit. Oops. Black arrow. Simple one, so I'm using the black arrow. All right. I'm going to move to the next set of frames. And I'm a little concerned about the back of the head. You know, no one has a bulge like that at the bottom. It's curvier up here. I'm going to try it with the black arrow first. Clicking off because it was selected. I'm going to come right here and see. Will that do? I'd be happy if it would do. Just want to make sure it doesn't start feeling like a different guy. I'm going to move over. I'm going to pull a similar maneuver. Disembodied neck over there. Can we call this a turtleneck? Yeah, it's a turtleneck. All right. Going on to the next one. gonna leave it. I think that's convincing. I'm going frame by frame, and I'm really literally asking myself, do I buy this? I don't even care. I don't care about logic one bit. You know, just gut level. I'm going to save it, take it for a ride. Better. You know, I even like the bottom now when his chin comes forward. Of course, the shape would change. You should save every now and then, too. I do have the goal of letting you out early. I just want to mention shading and how one would go about shading if one really needed to. So I want to tell you something. I have a million turnarounds. They're all over my computer. I get different moods, scribble turnarounds, all geometric turnarounds, you know, detailed ones with hair, ones without, ones with shading. And, you know, shading is a rough ride unless you're willing to be kind of literal about it. If we want him to have a light source or the shadow on one side, we could do that without too much work. But the shadow is going to wobble a little. It's going to have that animation vibe of not an exact vibe, but hopefully a vibe with character and personality. And it's going to be using the brush tool mostly, the way that I'd like to show you. Yeah, I want to come back. You know, one thing that's interesting about the way we have it is some of these layers are still in merge mode and some are not. So if one is going to do that kind of thing, you want to remind yourself now and then of what you've got. So I just unlocked all the layers. I came back to frame one. If I click here, you can see that this is still in merge mode. All the little dots mean that, which means that if I do anything crazy on that layer, right, I may have to pay for it later, right, because it's still in merge mode. I'm okay with that right now. Otherwise, I'd click it and I'd turn it into an object. We did the features, I remember putting all in objects, but what about the head? The head, right, is still in merge mode also, all right? Why? It just wound up that way. You know, no particular reason that I could think of right now. But I think I like it. I'm going to just work on the head. I want to show you a couple things. If you'd like to try the same as me, go back to frame one, right? And I don't think I need to lock anything for this. I'm going to leave it all unlocked. Let's just go to frame one, right? I want to get the brush tool. And I'm going to pick a color to shade with, which is kind of a big question. And I want to show you one method that you might like. I got the brush tool. I'm going to use the eyedropper, even though it thinks I want the paint bucket. I'm going to use the eyedropper anyway. And I'm going to click on his head, right? Switch to the paint bucket, no big deal, right? I'm not going to use it. I'm going to go back to the brush. I still have that color though. Now, the only reason I picked the face color is it's going to help me find a darker version of it. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to either fill chip. I'm going to click this little spherical symbol, which offers me the color editing. And I just want to point this part out. This is one of my favorites. This lets you darken stuff. But that is a good shadow color for this. The other way I could have done it is use B, which stands for brightness, press and drag to the left to get that shadow color. I want to repeat it. Anytime you want a darker version of a color, you could consider trying it. You get the eyedropper, click the color that interests you, go to any color chip, but instead of just using the color, click this. And it has a bunch of interesting options, but amongst them is just this for darker colors. Right now, I want to use this color though. So I'm going to do that again. Go to my color chip, use this little sphere. You could pick colors any way you want. This is just a convenient thing. I'm going to click OK. All right, I'm going over to the brush. I mentioned to you earlier and a little bit last week that the brush has cool options at the bottom of the toolbar. Paint behind, I use for the nose with mixed success, right? Really. But I want to use this one called Paint Fills. with paint fills, if I start here, even if I go off, oops, in a second, let me just double check something. Maybe I should, in a second here, I'm on the, I do want to be on the head shape. I think I am going to lock the neck layer. I am going to lock the features. Just want to see why that's not behaving. I'm going to do this differently because I'm too tired to fuss with it. There's another similar way. Select the shape you want to shade. Or more than one shape if you want. I'm curious, we'll see how it works with the ear. Get the paintbrush, and instead of using paint fills, I'm just too tired to figure out what went wrong. I'm going to use paint selection. Some would argue it's the better choice anyway. I selected the head. I'm basically saying don't paint anything else. You can see what's going on here. It only worked on the ear. I was curious. I thought the opposite was going to happen. It just means your teacher went too far today. I'm paying the price for it. Well, come back. Sorry, guys. I created a mess. I got this selected. I got the paintbrush. It's on paint selection. I lost my darker color, so I just have to retrieve it. Make it very dark. Right now, just looks a little clearer. And that should show up right there. Okay, there you go. That's what I wanted. I don't know what I was doing wrong. All right. So even if I go off, it's just going to show up on the skin, which really helps with shading. There's a couple things I don't like, though. I would like a much larger brush. So where would I get it? I got the brush tool. I set the option here to paint selection. I selected the thing first with the black arrow. But if I go to the properties palette, there've always been these 4 tabs. If I'm in a tool and I'm looking for tool options, stands to reason it would be here. I want a bigger size. Properties palette, the tool tab. All right, so this is really what I wanted to show you. I got light. It's going to be coming from the right, casting a shadow on the left. I'm going to do the ear separately. I think that's going to be easier. Now, the only thing that's a drag about this, as much as I like the look of it, I got a lot of head shapes. So I'm going to have to go to the next one. I'll click the keyframe this time, which selects it. And since I'm using the paintbrush and paint selection, that's a good thing. I'm clicking the next keyframe, and I'm going to try to get the light in the same place, even though the head is moved. The light hasn't. And I'm just going to trust myself and do this kind of quickly. And it's only going to paint on what I selected. So it's making this a much easier process than if I had to try to come right up to the edge of his head. Hate that kind of thing. So I'm just focusing on the largest part of my turnaround and see if I really have to do want to do the features. Some of these views, it looks like I will. Like the nose is really going to have to be changed. It's going right over the eyes because I didn't select the eyes. So currently, this is what I have. No, it's working. I told you it's going to be a slightly wobbly shadow. And I could have neatened that up by just taking more time, really. But I'm going to go back and deal with some of the features. I'm only going to, well, you know, I could do things like, this is, I don't know how far I want to take it. You know, put shadows behind, you know, anywhere you want to paint, just select it first. I don't know if I really want to bother with that though. I'm going to look and see what's absolutely necessary. This can't be like that. Didn't select it though. Black arrow, select it, go back, get the paintbrush. The nose really needs it. Select the nose. It'll work if it's in merge mode. It'll also work if it's in object mode. You do have to, by the way, there's a shortcut to get the black arrow. You could hold down the command key on a Mac. It'll probably work if you hold down the control key on Windows. So you could simply click, let go of it, and you're still in the brush. So I don't like switching tools much. So if I need to select while I have the brush, I just hold down command and I click on whatever it is. Let go, and I'm back in the brush. What about that eye? Really don't want to deal with that right now, I'll tell you the truth. You know, I don't really want to do this. This is going to feel right. It's being stubborn about backing up now. Funny, Command Z's not behaving. Getting too tired to work on that. I want to deal with the eye. I feel like what I might consider doing there, I'm going to have to be the guinea pig on this one. I'm going to set this brush back to normal, right? I'm going to have to be just a little more cautious. But what I'm going to do over here on the right, where I choose colors, I've not mentioned opacity before. So this is if I need a transparent color. Let's see if that works. Not feeling it. Normal mode. Oh. Guys, there's a little detail I've been avoiding. It's sticky, and I think it'll wipe people out, but I guess I better mention it. When you have drawings in object mode and other drawings in merge mode, if you stack them, the object mode ones always come to the top. So since I'm drawing with the brush in regular merge mode, I'm drawing, but they're going behind the eye. We turned the eye into an object earlier. They're all hiding underneath the eye. It's a very odd part of this program. So one thing I haven't done much of, but I'm going to be brave, is see, can I just turn on object mode now? And would that let me draw on top of the eye? This way it won't feel like it's a lower status merge object hiding behind the eye. Back to this feature that we used to use. I just pressed it. I'm in the brush, but now it's going to make object mode stuff. I still have the color. I still have the low opacity. This is probably going to work. And it worked. I think we'll make it a little darker. That's too much detail for sure. All right. Anyway, I'm going to let it go. Let me just see if this is an emergency. No, it's not. Anyway, I think that's it for now. There's always more. It's an endless thing. I'm going to ask you to save what you've got. Listen, folks, you got to be tired. This class is intense. And that was me trying to make it a little cleaner and a little simpler. The first half of the class is the one that I would review the most. That simple, basic shape. I got to say, I really cannot exaggerate the value of this particular exercise, or even the one that we did before it, you know, which was, you know, even simpler. We did it almost all with ovals and a little bit of pen tool. And the reason is you really understand the poses the most, you know, all 8 poses the most. Couple last thoughts. The tools you use, totally up to you. You find a way doing this that you're more comfortable with, do it that way, right? I'm sharing with you discoveries that I made along the way, discoveries that relate to other programs that have some similar characteristics, mostly Adobe Illustrator. But it really is, should be an adventure, self-discovery. Anybody have any questions at all about anything that I can answer? Yeah. Okay. Guys, listen, again, as I say every week, I really respect people who take on this particular major. It is grueling. I do teach students in a lot of art majors, and there are others just as hard. You might think video is easier. No, not really. Not really. No drawing. Those, yeah, but it's again, it's another rather really all the time-based media. There's just so much work. You figure you're an illustrator. That's one frame. Yeah, you're done. You just did the cover of the magazine. It's one frame. It's not animated. So we're really in a deeper place. So I think it's rewarding. All right, folks, this is the last time today I'm going to ask that. I didn't get any takers today. Fishing for questions, not catching anything. But that's all right.
That's been pretty clear so far. That's why.
Is it great? That makes me happy. I'm glad you guys feel that way. I had a couple students. I had a couple students over the years who are like, yeah, this is before the YouTube video. Just got the handout for this and actually was able to do it just from the handout. I personally would find that very difficult. It is a very detailed handout, and it didn't go into much in the way of the fancier drawing we just did, but it went to great detail about the first exercise. Folks, all right, I want to wish you luck with your classes as we wrap up the semester. We do have a few weeks more ahead of us. I just want to remind everybody that we do have class on Wednesday. Very odd, right? We have class on Wednesday. All your Friday classes are going to be running on Wednesday next week, because Thursday and Friday we're off, 4-day weekend, which is pretty cool. So I hope to see you all on Wednesday. If there's no way that you could join me, because your schedule in life is such, please do watch the video. The last lap of this class is about making people talk. And, I've got to tell you, I got a big job between now and then. I've taught it several times, but it's complicated. And I'm on a mission to find the clearest path ahead. So I have to make a date with myself to see. My own philosophy about a lot of complex things is the better you know it, the simpler it gets, and not just for you. You keep redoing it and get down to essences, and you're like, that seemed complicated. So let's see what I could do for you by next Wednesday. And there's a couple classes after that. It's likely to be a 2-3 week subject. We'll see. It's kind of large. All right, folks, if there are no questions, please check the handout, see any homework updates. If any of you guys are behind on homework, see what you can do about it. Tiffany, please.
I need to speak with you about the class on Wednesday next week.
Oh, really? So listen, let's say goodbye to everybody, and then you and I will talk. You spoiled me, Tiffany. I know you're telling me you can't be there. I could feel it. Well, I do. But, I'm finally realizing how to use your brilliance. Even though today we didn't do any breakout rooms, did we?
No.
No.
I think everybody was just following along.
Yeah, which is great. Great. I mean, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but that's been the plan lately. If anyone's bumping around on a particular day, we create a breakout room for Tiffany and that one student where they could really focus together. Anyway, thanks for being there. Folks, I'm going to say goodbye to the rest of you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm a little critical, but also optimistic. So I always say, invite a Native American over to your house and apologize.
Thank you, Professor.
But anyway, I'm thankful. This was fun. I'm thankful for this and many other things. Have a happy Thanksgiving. You're welcome, Joseph. See you guys Wednesday, hopefully. If not, I'll be seeing you the following Friday.
Hi, Professor.
Bye. See you, Zach. Everybody.
Hi, Professor.
See you guys.
Hi, Professor.
Eduardo, that's nice.
See you on Wednesday.
Yeah, see you then. See you then. I see a couple other people there. All right. Tiffany, so yeah, I guess you're booked on Wednesday?
No, it's that I was just told that I have to work in the morning. So you know how I have another job from like 5 in the morning to like 10:30-ish?
Really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Okay, no.
Oh
So
my God.
now you know that. So I work there about 3 days a week. Usually I'm off on Wednesdays, but they told me I have to come in that Wednesday. And when I looked it up, I was like, oh, wait, we're supposed to have a class that day.
Oh my gosh.
So
Hey,
it's
hey, can you give me a second? I don't think I stopped the, did I stop
the recording. No,
Oh,
you didn't
Bye,
stop. recording.
YouTube. Let me just